following is intended to provoke thought and challenge our assumptions. The opinions we hold are subject to change based on new and valid information. Your discretion is advised.
Now we're recording.
Awesome.
We are ready to go.
Sweet.
Social Thorns coming at you, not live.
Not live.
Dude, so we messed up last time when we talked about the San Diego mayoral race.
Did we? Oh, Bry.
It's
Bree.
Barbara Bree.
Barbara Bree.
Oh, Bree.
Not Bry, apparently.
You know, I can't tell you guys how excited I am for this election to be over.
Yeah, why?
I see so much shit all over the place.
All over.
Like, what's popping up on my Facebook feed right now are these, like, Lindsey Graham bashing his opponent. And it's like, he said he would never lie to you, but he already has. It's like, come on, Lindsey. You fucking lie. The bot's calling the fucking kettle black right there. You fucking dimwit.
Yeah.
But,
All
I mean,
the
on
spam
on a bigger scheme of things, though, you know, like, Trump and Biden. Like, it's just a horrible election. Absolutely horrible election. The candidates are just horrible.
So one of my favorite things to do is you can go into Facebook and look at advertisements by who's sending them. So you can actually start to see, like, if you want to see all of Trump's Facebook ads.
So what we need to do is we need to get Social Thorns on some of that stuff.
Yeah, you can log in there and watch, like, all these, like, Trump ads that are absolutely hilarious.
Oh,
They've got a really good one where, like, Biden's head splits in half, and then inside is Kamala Harris's head.
Wow.
And it says, like, and it's like, who's pulling the strings? It's the puppet master. It's pretty good stuff.
Something interesting popped up too. Somebody said they found out, I don't know if this is true or not, but they found out, and they blasted this all over Facebook, that if you have donated to Trump's campaign, you are now in their database, which makes sense. Like, I think Trump would capture that because he wants to go back for more donations, you know, similar to like what the NRA does.
Well, the money has to come from somebody's line of income.
Yeah. But I mean, like, they are actually tracking that. Like, they are putting it into a database and they're actually tracking that to use against you for marketing purposes later.
I work in digital marketing. Like, that's not exclusive to
No,
anything.
that's like
how the world works.
That's basic 101. If you're my customer, I want to capture so I can reach out to you again.
But
do you have a Vaughn's club?
I guess no, I don't.
Vaughn's knows how much mustard you buy, Scott. Are you okay with that?
All right. I guess I should come into the year 2020 now.
All right, QAnon, the conspiracists.
I just think that just is mind blowing though. Like Trump has the ego to think that he's going to win. McConnell has the ego to think that he's going to win. I think there's a strong chance that both of them are going to win. I think McConnell, without a doubt, is going to win. I think Trump is a little less shaky, or a little bit more shaky. But I mean, just the ego behind these two to, you know, openly acknowledge that they're tracking your information when you donate. That to me is scary.
I think you're a fool if you think that they're not capturing that information when you put money in their pockets.
I might have bought a mug from the Trump campaign.
That's disgusting.
That's right, for your
for my accountant,
and he loved it.
Yeah, and he found me another $1,700, by the way.
Damn.
From 2018.
Wow,
guy's a beast.
I need to go see him.
I tried. He never called me back.
So another
follow up with that guy.
I did twice. Never got anything.
Sorry, it's probably because you look Indian.
That's terrible.
Oh my god!
I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea.
It was weird. He was in the office and he wouldn't see me.
Is this Social Thorns material?
Wait, shut up! You went to his office and he didn't see you?
Yeah, I went to his office. His security person or his secretary took in some information and then like went to his room, talked to him, and then she came back out. And she's like, okay. God, even though I had an interview with him or a discussion with him.
Our 4 listeners don't want to hear this shit.
What the fuck's wrong with it?
Our 4 listeners don't want to hear about you struggling with his CPA.
They're not interested in this? Why not?
God.
What if it's racial profiling?
Yeah, man.
We're hitting on something very thorny right here.
Yeah, you think that shit's not real? I've experienced that before. It was a weird... let me just put it this way. It was a weird transaction.
He's a weird guy. Like, it's the whole. It was weird for me. So
yeah, I'll find someone else.
But not like that. Yeah.
All right. But I think this election has been just, people are acting like this election is so important and this is the time to vote. But one thing that I think people aren't being transparent about is that if Biden gets elected, that the trajectory of the country isn't going to change that much. Like, you may have differences in the federal government, and 2-3 years later down the line, there are federally things that have changed a lot. But in terms of the way people are engaging civically, it's not going to change until we have a severe cultural shift. And what I mean by that is that this sort of antagonistic approach towards the other side, your ops, that's not changing. Trump was just the face. Trump was the face of the energy that has been building up in this country. Yeah. And we want to blame him, but really we can only blame ourselves for allowing our neighbors to get to this place.
This election, though, has changed some culture within America.
Oh, sure.
And some of that is just becoming more intimate with your political beliefs and actually acting on them, becoming more engaged with local politics. I mean, I don't know if this is just me getting older and more mature and more concerned about our society and being more engaged.
It's hard to dissect whether it's you getting older or
but I mean, realistically, like, had we not had a terrible election 2016 with two grossly just disgusting politicians, Trump obviously being a used car salesman politician, and then Hillary with all kinds of scandals behind her, and just the Clinton dynasty in general. Had we had actually two fairly decent politicians, I don't know if I would have been so participatory as I am right now.
Yeah.
Like, if Trump wasn't such a horrible and incompetent president, I really don't know if I'd be sitting here having this podcast.
And what do you mean by incompetent and horrible?
Because
that's something that a lot of people say.
He has more open positions in the government right now, and he's had more turnover with government than anybody before him. So
that's one measure.
That's one measure, yeah.
He's draining the swamp.
Yeah, he's draining the swamp, yeah.
Right, there was too many bureaucrats beforehand. You could say that was a win. I don't know about the turnover. The turnover is a little different.
The turnover is not good.
Well, you also have the dismantling of things like the EPA.
He lost the House. It was Republican, but he lost it in the midterms because of the disgust that people saw with him. Yeah, the blue wave that came through. There is almost no bipartisan agreement. So
that trend's been happening pre-Trump.
I
don't know if it's been happening. I mean, it has been happening pre-Trump. That movement's been going on. Obama couldn't get the Senate to participate because of McConnell. So there's certainly that face that's there.
I listened to a great podcast on that very topic.
Hey, we're not promoting the competition.
Of like what is actually like causing this situation where in the Senate they can't, and in the House they can't come to any agreements, right? And it made me realize that there's actually like systematic. That's the word. Systematic issues with how we're running things. So like one of the things that I think it was Boehner installed was that you couldn't actually negotiate a bill on the floor. So when you put a bill out for both parties, it basically had to be in its final form. So you couldn't put it out for the parties and then the different like senators or congressmen
to negotiate
could say like, hey, I'd like to throw this into that bill. And so essentially it's like going into a negotiation without having any ability to negotiate, because like if I'm like, hey, this couch is $20 and you're like $20, that's crazy. Like I just have to hold to my $20. I can't be like, okay, I'll do 25.
Yeah.
And so that's actually written in law now, where you can't bring a bill and have people negotiate it on the floor. So like there's like things that have actually taken place that are starting to eat away at our ability to come to agreements across the aisle. That's Andrew Yang's podcast for anybody who might be interested.
So he's looking at, I mean, they can negotiate these things prior to that.
They can negotiate them prior to that, but that's like a big one, because what if the person's not at the negotiating table? and you still need the vote,
Yeah, I think that there's been so much change with how things have run. I think that it's just the game has changed. The people who are able to change those rules are not doing so in favor of collaboration. They're doing so in favor of their own party's interests. You've also seen like just more religion increase in the right, that being a more prominent focal point for their base. So you're seeing almost like this weird democracy creep into our republic, which people keep saying like we need to let democracy win, but that's not how we actually work. We're not a democracy. And oftentimes the majority, it's not good to have the majority rule because it often oppresses the non-majority. 51% can oppress the 49%.
Yeah, I mean, and it just ultimately comes down to the people who are getting these opportunities to vote on certain things and instill certain rules. Where is their moral compass?
Mm-hmm.
And what is important to them? Are they looking out for the good of all, or are they just trying to push a party line? And this is one place where Scotty, like, I jump on board with you with when I hear a lot of libertarians talk about what's important to them when it comes to government. They just want it to work more efficiently, generally speaking. I mean, some of them are crazy and want to dismantle it all. But before that, they're like, well, let's just make the thing work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we've got right now is a situation where it's not working. Everyone sees it and recognizes it. And because it's not working, it's creating these opportunities for these anomalies like Trump to jump in there just as this total wild card and start really screwing with the system.
I wish we had a better wild card. I mean, I look back at Gary Johnson as a wild card, 2016. What an awesome wild card to have.
I mean, so you're voting for Joe Jorgensen. Why?
I am.
So we didn't get into that last time, but I want to know why you're voting for Joe Jorgensen. What do you know about Joe that makes her a better candidate than Joe Biden or Donald Trump?
That's a tough question.
Yeah, are you just voting to say fuck you or what?
I am voting for. There's a couple different layers to this onion. So California overall is going to vote for Biden. California is going to go blue.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt that California is going to go blue, right? We
can
all
go
can agree
Kanye.
on that.
I kind of voted for Kanye.
Yeah, I could have voted for Kanye.
Yeah.
I could have voted for.
I actually wasn't voting for Kanye, though. I voted for Rocky De La Puente.
You know,
Yeah.
I could have voted for Gloria Riva. I could have voted for Freeman. I could have voted for Howie Hawkins and Angela Walker. I could have voted for a handful of different people than Joe Jorgensen. But I do agree with a lot of the libertarian philosophy. I don't agree with everything.
Like what?
I
What's a
agree,
libertarian
like
philosophy?
overall, I think that there should be less bureaucracy, less government, and let the states handle more than the federal.
Mm.
So that's just surface level libertarian perspective. I like that a lot. Now, again, going back to why I voted for Joe Jorgensen, though, I think that they are the strongest third party, and I think that if we give them enough support to be able to hit that threshold to participate in debates, then that voice is going to snowball. And that'll pull some attention from the Democrats. It'll pull some attention from the Republicans, like positive attention into the Libertarian Party.
So what's her platform?
So,
like, what's the message?
well, that's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Is I didn't vote for her message. I voted for her for the party alignment, and I voted for her against Democrat and against Republican. Because right now the two-party system...
It's a protest vote.
It's a protest vote. The two-party system is disgusting. It's broken. It's self-interested. It's too many super PACs, too much super PACs. The money from the lobbyists that are coming in is just, it's corrupt, right? I don't see that much corruption. I'm sure there's still rampant corruption in the Libertarian Party. I just don't see it as predominant as the Democrats and the Republicans. And again, coming back to that, we need to get them to have that percentage of support to be in the debates. It needs to be there. I didn't want to vote Libertarian this round. I really didn't. I wanted to vote for a Democrat, and I wanted to vote for a Democrat who was going to be a strong candidate for my beliefs. I would have crossed that line because I'm a registered libertarian.
So you're not even voting on issues. You're voting on this sort of meta issue that is happening in the political system.
Yep.
Like you're voting for the overall narrative to change, not for
exactly
specific Joe Jorgensen's
exactly
desire to lock up anybody who looks
like
a Middle Eastern person.
I'll be honest, I didn't even read Jo Jorgensen's biography, like her little bio.
There's 8 bullet points on her homepage for what she stands for. Can I read them?
Yeah, read them off.
All right. Joe's vision for our future. Generations of Republican and Democrat politicians have failed the people of America. Together, they've given us over $26 trillion in debt, trillion-dollar deficits, plus trillions more in unfunded liabilities, nonstop involvement in expensive and deadly foreign wars, skyrocketing healthcare costs, highest imprisonment rate in the world ever seen, broken retirements. I should read this all the way. Even higher among racial minorities and the poor, a broken retirement system unable to pay promised benefits, tariffs that are destroying markets for American farmers and raising consumer prices, energy policies driven by special interests.
So she outlined some very large bullet points, right?
And then she says, big government mandates and programs created these problems. To solve them, we need to make government smaller, much smaller.
I would like to hear what the plan is. Right?
Yeah.
And
I agree.
Dismantle government.
You know, I agree completely that there needs to be a methodology to her plan and that plan needs to be laid out. Mm-hmm. But she's right. I mean, she's finger pointing to the Republicans and the Democrats, and that's exactly what I'm doing too.
It's kind of easy to finger point, though.
It is. It's easy to finger point, but this is a third-party option that is with hope for me.
So how would you respond to someone who says that what you're doing is actually irresponsible because you're essentially voting for a candidate just because that you're going against the grain just to go against the grain?
So I faced this in 2016 when I voted for Gary Johnson.
And you could have just done that with Kanye.
Yeah, I could have.
Well, that's not the same, though, because you did it because you wanted to put a little more fuel on the libertarian fire.
I know.
To Kanye tip over to 3%?
Kanye is not going to stick around nearly as long as the Libertarian Party is going to stick around.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm minimizing your thing a little bit, but you can see. So. Yeah. But you can see kind of like where, the line over to that side is not as far as you making an informed choice about Donald Trump or Biden.
I faced this in 2016 when I voted for Gary Johnson, and I got reamed out by tons of Democratic supporters who were like, "You need to vote for Hillary because Trump's the devil." Like that's all I heard in 2016. It's like, I didn't know Trump actually was the devil in 2016.
Right.
So there were things that Trump was saying that I liked. Mm-hmm. There were things that Hillary was saying that I liked.
There's some things that he says that I still like. And there's a lot of things that he says that I don't like.
For sure. And actions speak louder than words. And there's a lot of things that Trump has done that I don't like. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of his history that was uncovered that I don't like. Mm-hmm. It's embarrassing. But with 2016 and asked that same question and forced with that allegation that I'm wasting my vote, I'm not doing anything and just going against the grain to go against the grain. No, I'm not going against the grain just because I don't want to see the world burn. I'm not a proponent for chaos. I want to see the libertarians succeed. I want to see a libertarian president because I do want to see less federal spending. I do want to see less federal power. I want to see more state control. I also want to see less lobbyist money. And the candidate at the time in 2016 and the candidate now for the Libertarian parties have accepted far less super PAC lobbyist money. I like that about them. I like that about Jo Jorgensen and Gary Johnson.
Yeah, one thing I like the idea of actually like maintaining or even increasing federal spending, provided that there is more state control and that money's actually going to states to do what they need to do. Like that's, I'm really big on the local ability to provide for your people as you see fit in your local area.
It's not a perfect system. I think that there's some mismanagement of money at all forms of government. I think that California, if given more power, would abuse that and it wouldn't be spent properly. There's a lot of things in California that I don't agree with as a citizen here, which is why I dove into this ballot specifically, which is why I wanted to have this conversation, this podcast go on, is because I think that there's some attention that needs to be brought to these things.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because what I'm hearing you say is a common thing that I hear, is that you're throwing away your vote. And I question whether or not the people who are willing to say that you're throwing away your vote without listening to what your reasons are for it. I'm not saying I agree with you in your decision to vote for George Jorgensen. What I am saying is I'm willing to hear your reasons for it, and that it is clear to me that you are not an uninformed voter. Even if you're not informed of what Joe Jorgensen is doing, you are civically engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you're participating in the civic conversation about government.
Yep.
And I think that one of the issues that I started seeing in 2016 after Donald Trump was elected, and just the fact that Hillary Clinton was selected as the primary candidate for the Democratic Party, the good thing that came out of that election for me was that I recognized that I had a duty to become way more civically engaged, because my passiveness wasn't going to help drive the change that I want to see in the world. I could not get upset at seeing Donald Trump become president, at seeing Hillary Clinton. So I haven't been upset with Trump's presidency. Now, that doesn't mean I haven't been critical, but I haven't been upset by it. And I couldn't be upset by Hillary Clinton getting elected because I was passive. And I recognized that I could no longer do that. And Hollis brought this up the other day when I talked to him, was like, this right here, what we're doing, is our way of becoming civically engaged.
100%.
And trying to, I wouldn't say necessarily spreading a message, but at least
open up a dialogue.
Open up a dialogue.
Open up a dialogue. That's all it is. Just, we want to see people become more engaged with their own political interests and agenda.
Yeah, and for me, it's also like, we're so cautious these days about what we say, how we say it,
what we listen to,
who it might offend, what we're associated with. And one of the like core beliefs, like within being American, that I think we're kind of losing sight of is like, no, like, we're all allowed our opinions. We have freedom of speech. The whole point, the whole thing that makes the whole thing great is that we can disagree. We can criticize our government. We can criticize each other. And we need to be okay with that. Like, I feel like we've gotten a little too cautious.
Sensitive.
Just and cautious with our true thoughts.
I mean, what's nice about this show is we can say our own opinions. We can cuss. We can joke. Our humor is reflected in this. It's not just some collegiate podcast who's trying to not offend people, but trying to, like, I guess you could say, sway a political agenda for their own purposes. Yeah. I have no political agenda. I'm never going to run. I have a record. I would get smeared so fast. I don't want that public light. I am not. I mean, I consider myself,
bounce around ideas.
Yeah, I consider myself a pretty good person, but I do have a not so polite past. And I just don't want to deal with that drama in my life. But I do want to have an outlet. I do want to reach people who are like me, or people who I can convince to have a discussion.
Yeah.
Not just with us, but within their own families, within their own social networks. Because I think that local participation, local government participation, like voting, understanding what's going on. I mean, this is I think the bigger problem than having somebody like Trump in office. I mean, yeah,
I agree.
On a federal level, on a worldwide standpoint,
it does a lot of damage.
It's dangerous. But I think that this is the stuff here, like understanding Proposition 14, 15, understanding how your government locally is putting new rules and regulations and spending money, and how that stuff is happening, how all that's affecting homelessness, healthcare, transportation. That's going to impact you. One of the biggest problems that I have with people not paying attention to this but still having an opinion is that they're oftentimes being sold a rhetoric and sold
talking points.
Sold pandering talking points that pushes them in a direction that's not correct. That's not what their intention is to vote for or to go with. And unfortunately, the news does the same thing. The news actually stands for noteworthy events, weather, and sports.
Mm-hmm.
And what we see on the news predominantly is, again, that rhetoric that draws you in for shock doctrine, fear.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh my God, the Republicans. Oh my God, the Democrats. Oh my God, there's murderers. Oh my God, everybody's going to die in the next apocalypse.
We've really lost it with the media. Like, I think that's one of the critical factors that's causing this breakdown.
Yeah.
Is just, you know, and I bring this up all the time to people. In Canada, Fox News is illegal because they have
It's not true.
It is true.
That's not true. I go to Canada often, and Fox News is actually.
It's that it's illegal for them to qualify themselves as news, right?
Yeah.
They have to be qualified as entertainment.
Yeah.
I think you should fact check that.
Fact check it.
Yeah,
Let's do
check
it.
that.
Let's fact check it right
but
now.
what he's saying though is an important point, and it is something that I have liked that Trump has said. Fake news, like that is caught on everywhere. I don't care if you're Democratic or Republican. You know fake news. And you know it exists, and it's real. And unfortunately, he used something that's true to catapult himself in favor. It'd be like me saying, like, dude, there's a bunch of murders. They suck. And everyone's like, hey, no one's really said that. But yeah, murder does suck. And it's like, anybody can take that and run with it. If a Democrat had said fake news, it could have still caught on. But, dude.
It catches on because everybody knows that it's true. Just nobody wants to let go of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's weird.
People who understand that the news is biased still watch their very biased news.
I don't understand.
And that blows my mind too. Like, I talk to my parents. My parents lean more right, and they watch, you know, Fox News, and I get comments from them all the time. Like, yeah, CNN's fake, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and Fox News is biased as well. But why do you still watch it? Why do you send me articles that are clearly biased and without, you know, actual fact-based news?
Here's something that's been driving me nuts, dude.
I don't know if it's our society's nature to gravitate towards grabbing the remote and watching the nightly news to stay up on current events.
Sure.
I don't know how that happened to America. I don't know how that happened to the world, but I don't know how that specifically happened to America when we lost the truth that comes to journalism. I don't know how that happened.
Oh, no way.
Oh,
so
bam.
So first, one, you're right, and two, they say Scott's right. They weren't. It didn't prevent them from coming into Canada, but why it didn't prevent them from coming into Canada is the CRT, which is the Canadian something what the heck
radio
is it?
And transmittal.
Yeah, it's gonna be radio.
Yeah, something
anyway,
like that.
They have written in that it prohibits the broadcasting of false or misleading news by radio and television licenses, but that only applies to Canadian companies.
Oh, wow.
So Fox
they can
News
hold themselves to a higher standard.
Yeah, they can hold themselves to the standard, but they can't keep Fox News from broadcasting.
Yeah,
I forgot.
That's kind of funny.
So-
Somewhere banned Fox News.
They tried, I guess.
So what's
But you're totally right about that. Apparently, it didn't.
yeah?
Part of
Stop,
it is
stop spreading fake news, Hollis.
Some of
There
it's
you
part
go.
of the
That's how easy
24/7
it
news
is.
cycle, but it's also journalistic integrity.
Well, and the business model changed,
Business model too.
and that kind of like forced everybody's hand.
So I would wager that there are journalists out there who are looking at this trend of shit news and are getting concerned because their profession is getting diluted, essentially. Imagine if you were a legit investigative journalist who goes in and digs in deep and tries to uncover, like, you spend 2 years just researching one subject.
Well,
that trend's been going on for a decade.
Yeah, but with that idea, so what if you're this journalist who's going in and who's uncovering this, you know, this cloud of darkness from this political candidate, and you just go further and further down the hole, seeing all these atrocities and things, but it's getting blown out of proportion. It's getting magnified because all you're seeing is the negativity.
Magnified.
Blown out of proportion.
And I don't mean journalism in terms of just political. I mean, you talk about, let's say I'm investigating the meat industry. Specifically, I'm looking at Tyson and how they process chickens or something like that. And that is such a specific thing that people would do. But now what you have is journal articles where the references and the sources are Twitter posts.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the equivalent of getting your news from walking around your office and being like, hey, what happened over there with
From
Jim?
the water cooler.
And then you come up to your CEO and you're like, things need to change. Joe said this, Susan said that, and Jim is about to quit. Meanwhile, like, there's a whole conversation of things happening, but you're citing these 3 people that you found online to fuel your narrative.
Trump is the best at that too, because he'll be like, so and so says this thing, and then he'll be saying that on the news.
Yeah, ridiculous.
It's amazing.
I don't know where these
And then the news
statistics
is
come
just
from, but
like-
they were given to me.
Whatever.
I don't know where this
People like
information
watching
comes
you, I
from,
guess we'll
but
put 'em
I
on.
believe it.
So I would say that in 2 years from now, where we will be on this podcast is going to be a lot more mature in how we're civically engaged. I think right now, learning about these propositions is important. I think learning about propositions and the ballots and who you're voting for is important. But there's another layer of being civically engaged as well, and that means actually doing things that help improve your community. So I want to talk about one of the candidates, if you don't mind me segueing. I want to talk about one of the races that are happening, and that's this is my district here, is the United States Representative for the 53rd District. And that's happening between a person called Georgette Gomez and Sara Jacobs. So I did a little digging into both of them. I didn't spend that long because you've got all these different names and it's hard to just dig into someone and where their policy positions are. And so I was looking at both of them and what they stand for. And let me know what you guys think about this. What I frequently see in how people articulate their positions is that they say something like, I was a Hillary Clinton global health advisor, and I worked with members of Congress to ensure that funds were appropriated ahead of time so they didn't have to wait for funds to get appropriated, referring specifically to the Zika virus outbreak. What does that mean?
Yeah, what is that?
I was a Hillary Clinton global health advisor. This is something that Sara Jacobs said.
So
What
was
does it
she
mean?
sitting next to Hillary Clinton giving her advice?
Right.
Or was she just a supporter who voted for Hillary and never once had an interaction with Hillary?
You're hitting on my pain point for all of politics. It's like I have so little visibility into how these things actually take place,
Right.
what's actually happening. Like, how on earth can I have any kind of opinion in any way when I know basically nothing about how someone's doing their job?
Right. And if you don't mind, Hollis, can you look at Georgette Gomez's webpage and see what she's fighting for? So she puts that I think I recall something like she's fighting for low-income families. Right? What does that mean? What does that look like? What is the plan? I looked at both Sara Jacobs and Georgette Gomez's web pages. I could not find a single plan. I could not find a single detailed plan.
We don't want to know how the sausage is made, Sonali. We just want to eat it and it better taste good.
Right. So one of the things that
I'll give you a sausage to eat.
Yeah, you fucking sicko.
So Sara, for example, promotes that she does this thing called the San Diego for Every Child, which is the coalition to end child poverty. They have a mission to cut child poverty by 40% within a certain amount of time. The coalition is made up of companies who are committed to child welfare. In that nonprofit page, I could not find one single plan, not one methodology, not one specific program that they're looking to implement, no information to provide you with that educates you on why these systemic issues are happening. Now, what I did learn was that, during COVID, childcare became a really big issue for a lot of people. Here's something that I noticed a lot of politicians do, and I'm not calling Sara Jacobs a politician. She doesn't have the experience, but she could be someday. She could be a politician. Same with Georgette, right? Georgette's still pretty
New to the scene.
New to the scene, yeah. Even though she has served.
I found some stuff on Gomez when you want to get into it.
Yeah, once I'll say this and then we'll transfer to that. One of the things that I notice a lot of politicians do is that they just say it. I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, man. But all right, so here it is. So looking at her website, I immediately started clicking around trying to find something of, like, hey, let's get to some meat here, right? So this is Georgette Gomez, Democrat for Congress.
Both are Democrats, by the way, Sarah Jacobs and Georgette.
A bold agenda to invest in America. And she has a 9-page PDF you can download on her website.
Sweet.
And if you get in there, it's all about investing in people. Investing in people. Millions of Americans are out of work, sending a shudder through the economy. The CARES Act and other congressional action made a difference in providing real relief to American families and giving a lifeline to businesses struggling in the shutdown. Congress must take additional action to help struggling families and the small businesses that are the foundation of our economy. So then she's got.
Let me interject with this because you reminded me of the point I was trying to make, and maybe you can kind of summarize some of the key features of the plan. Is that these folks will often tout what they're going to do, what their interests are, but they often don't educate the voter on the systemic implications or why these things are important. They're leaning on your values. So let's say something like fight for low income and inequality.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Who doesn't want to fight?
There's quite a few people who don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, to be honest, there really are.
So
for the people,
how does the politician or the potential politician that would be politician's resume supposed to look?
Okay.
I mean,
I can give you an example of what it would look like to educate someone while you're promoting your ideas. So in business, right? If I'm going to go talk to the CEO and there's a problem within the company, it's not enough for me to tell them what the problems are. That's what politicians often do. They'll point the finger and say, these are problems. And you're like, anybody can find problems. The challenge is, what can you do to come up with solutions?
Don't give me problems, give me solutions.
Give you solutions, but also provide you with enough of a plan. So I'll give you an example of something that we experience and probably a lot of people experience in companies, especially if you're a large company. And a traditional company with not a lot of young people, right, coming into the workforce. Everyone had to transition into Zoom or WebEx or whatever freaking platform you're using to communicate via conference. Imagine that your business model has now changed and shifted over to this medium. CEOs are going to be concerned with keeping that profit margin going, even with this new technology. Some companies struggled. The thing is, a lot of their clients are also struggling to use the technology. So a lot of clients are giving you a pass, right? You're messing up your presentation. Your kids are in the other room. However, you also have competition who is struggling. So if we recognize that this is a problem, that your population within your company cannot leverage this technology well, but then you're not taking the time to create training or development programs so people can integrate this into their workplace a lot faster.
Here's the pitch for Sanan's business.
This is just Zoom stuff. If you're not taking the time to actually train your people systematically and then embed something like Zoom into your actual operation. So right now you're just using it as a tool to get your job done. But overnight, this has actually become a part of your operation. And if you're not recognizing that and doing steps to help train and systematically increase the skill across all of your colleagues within your company, so that when you go to your client and you're presenting to them and you're talking to them, how different your experience is as a person who's leveraging this technology versus someone who can't even get the audio to work, who can't get their presentation screen up. How much of a leg up do you have just on presentation alone, even if you didn't have the great product? Right?
Yeah, it's a short-term win, though. I mean, people will catch up.
People will catch up. But I don't go to the CEO and say, hey, no one knows how to use Zoom. You go to the CEO and say, look, if we're not doing this, our competition is essentially playing on equal footing. We can get an increased footing if we improve our ability to use Zoom, and then laying out a plan of how you can systematically train every single colleague to increase their skills.
Sure.
So, but you see how like I had to lay out enough context to be like, look, check out this landscape. The CEO is worried about bottom line, whether or not people are going to get their job done, how are we going to monitor work, payroll, all this other stuff.
And to bring it back to the politics, bring it back to the politicians, they're not giving you the plan. They're not giving anybody the plan.
They're not giving you
You're
the
not
plan.
able to find it. You're not able to do the research that you need to make an educated decision. So when I look at the Ballotpedia, those types of websites that showcase the politician and they have that small bio, what do you think speaks to that? If you have to make the best informed decision that you can based off of two candidates who provide basically no information.
Yeah.
You look at their title, right? You look at this healthcare provider / mother, city council member / parent. That's what the average voter
I
is
saw
gonna
that
see
for
when they
Chris
see that.
Ward. Chris
Yeah.
Ward. I thought that
Yeah,
was so funny.
Chris Ward and Sarah Davis.
I've met
And-
Chris though. He's a really nice guy.
You actually know him?
No, but I've met him a few times.
That's funny. We'll get into them in a little bit.
Yeah.
But when you see that, it's the quickest form of rhetoric. Oh, she's a mother. I'm a mother.
That's it.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's better than city attorney because he's not a mother. You know, something, you know, like,
He doesn't know what it's like.
yeah, he doesn't know what it's like to be a mother. But
And I don't know.
I
that it's-
agree that we should expect more from the politicians. But when I see those types of things, I imagine what their history is like. I imagine as much as I possibly can.
Right.
You know, and I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. All right, so we have a guy who's city council member. He probably went to school for politics. I'm hoping that he did. You know,
School
he's got
for
some
politics?
school. He's probably got a civic degree, something like that.
Sure.
Like he's maybe not. I don't know, but I don't know, or I don't see that with healthcare provider / mother. But you know, this is the assumptions that I'm drawing with this small amount of information.
He's very
And,
openly gay.
You know, when I see somebody who says, or who's got like doctor in front of their name, oh man, that guy put in some time. He's got some research. He's gone through research, development, education. He's probably looking at things with a practical manner. Hopefully, maybe not.
But none of that matters if you cannot be transparent with the information and the plans that you have.
I
Well, so,
agree. I
like-
agree completely. All I'm trying to say is that what little information that we have, this is how you have to dissect it. This is how you have to look at it.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, there's an argument to be made that you wouldn't, if you look at this as kind of an opposing forces situation, right?
I know where you're going with this.
You know where I'm going with this? And they say, well, if we were to lay out every detail of the plan, now the opposing force knows exactly how we're looking to move ahead. I personally don't buy that argument
And
at
then
all.
you can criticize the plan and blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
yeah. But the other thing is like,
that
how
is
much
a-
detail do you need? And so much of this is outside of any individual's control. Like, they can have their plan and
Hold on.
try to do it, but
Hold on.
who knows?
The biggest fucking argument with that right there.
Yeah, yeah.
If you don't want your opposition to know your plan, but you want your plan to be good, why wouldn't you want to have that dialogue with your opposition to make your plan better? I want to get the Green New Deal out there, but there's some fucking holes in the Green New Deal. Why don't you get your competition to come over and poke some holes in there and find it for you, and then you guys can come up with a real solid plan
I think it's
and
a great
actually get
point.
some bipartisanship.
Yeah, the problem
think
is,
that
as soon as they
argument-
come with that criticism, then you go to reaction and be like, no, it needs to be this way. As opposed to
Yeah.
being like, actually, those are some legitimate
what?
concerns.
Well,
You know
but the
what?
other
You're
piece
right,
of it,
But then you look soft.
Creating 1 million solar panels is going to be a horrible thing for the environment. You're right. Maybe we need to look at something that's a little bit better because our real goal is to clean up the environment.
And the issue is also people can keep pointing out problems, and we need people who are not just good at pointing out problems, but they can actually articulate.
because there's like multiple phases to it, right? There's like, first there's the problem, but then there's, all right, this is how I plan on tackling the problem. Like, this is what we need to change to solve the problem. And then there's, how do you plan on accomplishing that? You know, so like, not only like, all right, you kind of agree on the problem, then you need to agree on what the course of action is to solve the problem. And then you need, what's the course of action even to make that course of action possible?
Yeah.
Well,
So Gomez has some.
I would say then
things
you
on
could
her
even
page.
break apart the problem into smaller steps too,
Well, of course, yeah.
right?
But like, I mean, how much detail do you want? You know, and so it's like on her page, she has kind of her platform laid out. extend supplemental unemployment benefits until the economic crisis is over.
Right.
There's a bunch of detail around that. I mean, not a bunch. I mean, there's a paragraph here.
So here's what I would rather hear, Hollis.
Yeah.
Why is it difficult to get more supplemental insurance? So Gomez is saying, hey, we need to extend supplemental insurance. Is that correct? That's what it says on the
Yeah, it says extend supplemental unemployment benefits until the economic crisis is over, and then there's a paragraph describing that.
What is difficult about getting that done? Why is that difficult to do? That helps educate a voter in potentially recognizing what can I do to support or write to my legislator.
Right.
One of the things that...
No, I agree with that. I think that's a great point. That's kind of marketing 101.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a difference between we need to do this versus, look, this is difficult to do. And the reason why it's difficult is because X, Y, and Z is here. When you can provide people with more information, I think we keep assuming that the voter is unintelligent, who needs 3-bit pieces of information. But I think that while that may work in the short term, we're creating poor voting decisions by doing so. So it's like we're not providing the opportunity for people to educate themselves more because we're not giving them the educational materials. But it also is a communication issue too. Some of these politicians may not be doing it intentionally. They just may not know how to communicate our expertise. So I just want to give you what my verdict was.
And that's what I'm hitting on when I look at people's titles.
Yeah,
I just
They may
signed.
not be able to communicate because they don't know how to
they
communicate.
just don't know how.
They don't know how to present well.
I
They may not have had the education. They may not have had the experience. They may be limited in a narrow scope.
I'm going to explain why I'm going to vote for Sara Jacobs.
I just signed both of you up for Gomez's newsletter, by the way.
Thanks, dude.
You're welcome.
This is why I'm going to vote for Sara Jacobs, because I saw...
This is why I'm going to take away his rights.
So I saw a video...
Chris Ward, I'll get you on that one too.
Only less than 1,000 people watch this. So if that gives you any indication of like how engaged people are in these conversations. Only 1,000 people watched. I think it was KPBS or KUI, one of the local stations. They had a discussion with Gomez and Jacobs about their different policy positions. And the reason why I'm voting for Sara, and I'll explain my criticisms, but I'll say why I'm going to vote for her, is because she's young and passionate. She's young. She's going to be new blood. She's going to be more enthused. The fact that I could probably relate to her more than I could to Georgette Gomez, I want to give this young person a shot.
Does she have a membership at Mesa Rim?
I want to give a young person a shot. I want to give them an entry into the San Diego political scene, whereas Gomez was not an enthusiastic person. She didn't lay out anything more articulately than Sara. They were both poor candidates, in my opinion. But if I'm going to take two poor candidates, I want to give someone a shot.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of the matter is, because they're so poor candidates, it's a huge opportunity for someone who could be a good candidate to step in and swipe that up. The only way that these candidates are going to become incumbents is if they stay there longer because no one else is going out there competing against them.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example of some of the things that I quote from Sara Jacobs that is clearly poor in communication and naive in terms of showing how green she is in being able to interact with government. By the way, that is super distracting for me. So it's very hard to talk when that's happening. Yeah.
I'm listening.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
So she says...
I'm listening too, Sinan.
Yeah. She says...
Would you like me to make eye contact the whole time?
I would like you to make eye contact. She says that Congress should have foreseen that it would be longer than 8 weeks, talking about COVID. Congress should have foreseen that it would be longer than 8 weeks. The CARES Act should have been more dynamic and not create arbitrary deadlines. She's pointing out a problem, right? CARES Act should have been longer. One thing that she's not articulating is that you have to get bipartisan support to pass these bills. So what is the difficulty in not creating arbitrary deadlines? Is it that a bunch of state senators and House people were like, oh, let's just do this because fuck it, why not? Oh, that's a good idea. Or is that you have a multitude of competing interests to try to pass along a simple package to help a bunch of Americans, and you have to do some back and forth. So arbitrary stuff is going to happen because you have to give some concessions. You have to get some concessions.
She's also kind of asking people to see the future in a situation when no one really knew how this thing was going to play out. We had some ideas, but I mean, so they didn't know where things were going to be in 8 weeks.
Sure. I mean,
well, when her campaign advisors allowed her to showcase that, it sounded good at the time.
Right. Here's another thing that it demonstrates a lack of ability to communicate. She said that she supports small business local owner support. She supports small businesses. She said, and I quote, specifically setting aside funding to community development financial institutions so that money gets the smallest of small businesses. So like the EIDL and the PPE, you can pull a cash advance to pay people.
I don't even know what those are.
Bingo. That's exactly my point. So both of these are programs that help provide loans and cash stimulus to businesses. So essentially, if you have an issue with COVID and that's impacting your business, you can get a cash advance so you can pay your people.
So let's go back to something real quick. You said that this is coming from a interview or an event where 1,000 people were watching or participating.
Total have watched on YouTube.
Total have watched. Okay,
on
so
YouTube.
So I guess I'm just trying to set
it's like
the
a
scene for
C-SPAN thing.
This wasn't a clinic. This wasn't a conference that she held or was a part of. She's addressing parties that are interested in this and would know those colloquialisms and those colloquialisms is wrong. Abbreviations.
Not necessarily. This was a way for everybody to be like, hey, voters, get to know the people that are running in your district. So Georgette Gomez is there.
Okay, so
Sarah
this
Jacobs
was
is there,
an event.
and then like 6 moderators.
This was an event too. Okay, that's what I'm trying to draw the picture for this. So, but it's an event for average citizens. It's not an event for interested parties per se.
So there's very little in educating people through the process of understanding why these things are happening. Joe Biden kind of does it way better than Trump. Trump does not provide you anything but like sound bites.
I tried to find her on social media when you yelled at me and I couldn't find her.
Sarah Jacobs?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn.
I was trying to look her up.
Are you talking about the Union Tribune editorial board interview?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, it's got 1,000 views.
Yeah, 1,000 views. So it's like very few people are watching this. And by the way, I think Sarah Jacobs has had quite the lead in the primaries. So she's probably the favorite to win just because people already voted for her. But it just goes to show you that there's like this lack of communicating, developing a plan. I mean, her childcare thing that she kept touting, there weren't like detailed plans about what they did, why they did it, why it worked, what could be done in the future to improve that. I mean, this is just basic science methodology type stuff, and people aren't doing it. The other thing that people like to do is tout their accomplishments. Gomez touts their accomplishments. I voted for X. I helped with Y. And it's like, what did it take to do that? Was it hard? Was it difficult? Did you sit in 3 meetings?
I think okay, so you're hitting on how I voted for Chris Ward and Sarah Davis.
Okay. Why? What do you mean how?
You're hitting on it right there. So Chris Ward touts what he did. Mm-hmm. There's 2 things that grabbed my attention. The first is that he helped write into law some of the styrofoam and small plastics ban. Yeah. Actually, he wrote the law. Yeah. Awesome. I saw it. I skimmed through it. It's like a 10-page document. You can see it on Ballotpedia. 10-page document. Pages. It's small, right? But what does that take to get to have people agree to that, to have that turned into law? Maybe there's a lot that goes into that. And then he also helped pass the equal pay ordinance for San Diego. So that's cool. Citizen rights. Equal rights for minorities, equal rights for women, these types of things that's written into the San Diego law. But what difference does that really make for what federal law is? How is San Diego an exception that would not normally have allowed that? So I don't understand that.
But you found one of the you found the equal pay, meaning that you cannot discriminate pay based on
sex religion, skin color.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But that's already
already federal law.
It's already federal law. But look, here's two things.
But do you see what a great guy I am for doing this?
Has his name on.
Yep.
I mean, the styrofoam thing is awesome that he did that. Like, I really stand behind that. I think that it's good. Like it or hate it, it's something that he did. It's an accomplishment that I personally stand behind. And his competition, Sara Davis, doesn't have that. But she's got some good things, too, going for her. So she's into women's health. She's into... her bio says something along the lines of, like, she's a licensed midwife, a lactation consultant.
She's seen people when they're most vulnerable.
Big into reproductive health, advocate for helping working families and dealing with postpartum and, like poverty, those types of issues.
Let me just back up before you continue.
Well,
that one of the reasons why the race between those two is almost inconsequential is because Chris Ward has a brand name here in San Diego, and this is going to be a blowout race. I just want to put that into context before you...
Sure.
I also want to read some YouTube comments when you get...
But what I'm trying to say is I like the fact that this man has these accomplishments.
Sure.
And this is exactly what you're pointing out with the neglect that politicians are having right now. Is there's no showcase of what their plan is. There's no methodology to what they're trying to do that we can see transparently.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just hard to get that from these local politicians, and it's hard to get that from people who are these inexperienced. Like, I don't want to vote for a midwife. I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to vote for a lactation consultant.
Like as your way of saying this is my lead-in.
There's a need for that, 100%, but it doesn't apply to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not married. I don't have a wife that's pregnant.
You lactate.
I did have a pierced nipple, and that
you might want to get that checked out.
But
just saying.
I mean, these are things that I don't believe that this person is going to reach the mass population here in San Diego. But the styrofoam ban does.
Yeah,
that's an interest that does play a role.
And she could have come up with that, but recognize that even if you were critical of Chris in terms of the criteria that I'm laying out with not providing people with information or educating them through the process, the difference between this race is that Chris Ward has so much momentum going for him leading into this race. Mm-hmm. It would have been hard for any no-name to come up and go against him. So unless Chris Ward had some real significant issues as a candidate, it's going to be tough to unseat or at least disrupt somebody who's moving up in the ranks, essentially.
This is the big question, though. Sara Davis and Chris Ward are running for the member of the State Assembly of the 78th District.
Yeah.
What are some of the big issues in the 78th District? What's struggling there? What's successful there?
La Jolla has a parking issue.
What is the
La Jolla? No, the 78th is pretty large. It includes like La Jolla, Solana Beach, parts of San Diego, definitely my district. So Chris Ward
definitely mine.
This
OB,
is
Point Loma.
Yeah, this is a stepping stone. So, if he gets elected, this is another stepping stone for him, because he went from a council member, assembly member here locally, and now he's moving up. So
how does a lactation assistant or midwife, licensed midwife, help out all these people in the 78th District?
It's tough. I think it's going to be hard because if you're going to reach those local voters, you would have had to be doing things in the local community that have made big impacts on people. And I think that's going to be tough to do. Going up against somebody else who has a name already of doing things for people in the city.
Doesn't matter. I'm just saying, if you put two no names next to each other, that's how I want people to look at voting. Like, I want them to understand what is really going to benefit them, what's really going to benefit the mass populace. I don't think that a licensed midwife is going to help out.
Like, as your lead-in.
Small businesses.
Well, there's
like maybe you're
YouTube,
a licensed midwife, but you don't lead in with that.
There's a YouTube comment here that definitely agrees with you, Scott. There's Chris the Flake, who commented.
This was about Sara Jacobs and Georgette.
Yes, this was the 53rd Congressional District. Democrats Georgette Gomez and Sara Jacobs, Union Tribune, editorial board interview.
Okay.
On YouTube. There are 1,000 views and 3 comments.
Okay.
2 of which are seemingly kind of pro Jacobs. And then there's one.
There's only 3. Just tell us what they are.
Very against Jacobs. Chris the Flake, who has an icon of himself as Superman, says Sara Jacobs is young and motivated, but looks and talks like a girls gone wild pass around party favor. She lost me when she yapped about women and women of color. Might as well have said, I hate white men. Gomez is shaky because she mentioned undocumented immigrants instead of illegal aliens. We were worried about deportation, but in light of the pandemic, it's a legit issue. If I have to vote for a modern Dem, I guess our 6 votes are going to Georgette.
This is
Comments? Concerns?
Yeah. This is
snide remarks?
This is why the peanut gallery in the comment section you should take with a grain of salt.
But this is also why
man.
people need to get civically engaged, because you're talking about the person who's getting civically engaged, who actually goes and watches this, is also watching Plandemic and feeling motivated to bring that into question.
Yeah.
They're talking about the distinction between an undocumented immigrant and an alien, and it's just like
bringing all this contentious shit.
All this contentious propaganda rhetoric into this debate or into this discussion, and these are people who are actively engaged. Even if they're actively engaged in maybe a more immature way, they're still actively engaged, and it is a duty, if you are a citizen, to start figuring out, how can I learn more? That's the first step. How can I learn more about what's going on around me? Second step, which I think we're starting to get to, is what can we do?
And where are you learning? Because I think
more,
Chris the Flake is learning things in weird places.
Yeah. Second step should be, what is going to impact me? What's going to impact me? And then the third step would be, how do I get engaged?
Well, this is one way for us to get engaged, but I don't think the buck stops here. I think there's other things.
So the ballots in front of you, you have Sara Jacobs and you have Georgette. Yeah. You're voting for Sara Jacobs.
I'm going with Sara Jacobs. I want to give someone a shot. I want to give a young person a chance. And Georgette was snooze fest.
She's not on my ballot, but if the ballot was in front of me, I would give Sara the vote as well, because you just convinced me the life that she brings to the race, essentially.
Sure. And
to the topics.
Still critical.
So housing and homelessness is one of those big issues. It seems to be,
huge.
A lot of people are concerned about. They care about it. So she has a fair amount of information detailed out on her site.
Yeah, Chris Ward also is big on homelessness, but you and I both know that the homeless issue is very skewed in how they distribute that information.
I am frustrated with this because every single candidate in California that I researched said the same stuff. California as a whole, right? Said the same stuff. Homelessness is a problem. We need to address homelessness. Again, there's no solution for this.
No solution. Everyone can talk about problems.
All it is just chatter. Just chatter about it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if San Diego really has anybody who's stepping up trying to put a plan together.
Yeah, and bringing this right down to the ground level, Chris Ward used to do I don't know if he still does, but like a coffee with Chris or something. Mm-hmm. It was like once a month you could go to a coffee shop, and they did this in Bankers Hill. And he would basically stand at a coffee shop. About 50 people would show up.
Who could find parking?
I don't know how they got there, but then he would start listing out like the things that are important to him and things that are going on. And then old women would just berate him. They would just berate him for like an hour, and they would yell at him like, "What are you doing about homelessness? I was at this place and there were 3 homeless people." And it's just like this relentless, like,
it's like Parks and Rec.
It's just this Parks beating. And he's just like this magician, just like deflecting and just like, like, how is this happening? It's the strangest thing.
If he's still doing that, we should go.
I doubt he's doing it anymore.
I don't know.
I'd be down.
Maybe he is for the race.
I'd be down.
It was awesome.
We should go.
Yeah, and I think some other candidates do similar things, where they kind of get, they have to make themselves available to their constituents,
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's the next step. I think that's the next natural step. But the thing is, those forums are places for people to also vent and get their frustrations out, and it's usually not a good sense of dialogue.
It's not a healthy place to really get I guess, constituents first of all. It's not a good place for that person to go and vent to feel like they're being heard.
No.
Well, but at the same time, I mean, so they're with a bunch of other very active people politically who are typically quite involved in their communities. Like the people who go to these things
Yes.
are not, these aren't sideliners.
Right.
These people,
Right.
they're involved. They're shucking and jiving. They're trying
voting.
They're trying to get Stacy to agree to
Yeah.
that parking sign they want to put over there.
Oh yeah.
You know,
So-
and so like yelling your thing out there is kind of a good forum to like look for other motivated, what you could call like local influencers or like, you know, who would be looking to team up and form coalitions and try to make some moves.
So
I would imagine that this format that we're doing here with somebody in local office to watch a conversation unfold as opposed to just having a conversation with a crowd. Maybe you could do it after. I think that
Yeah.
would be a very fascinating way to see someone divulge more information and to be more transparent and to not have this sort of mob versus the crowd. Because that's got to be,
Well-
I don't care if it's 80, if it's 7 80-year-olds,
But
that's
this is-
intimidating to get
It
ganged
was-
up by a
it
bunch of
was-
old ladies.
Yeah.
it was so much fun to watch.
Did you go?
Oh yeah, I went a bunch of times.
Oh.
It was great. I mean, you just see him just like beaten with a bat for like 2 hours.
Walking stick,
and I'm
yeah.
just sipping my coffee, just like, man, this guy's got a tough job.
Wow.
Isn't that how our presidential debate should be? Two candidates having a conversation and having it out like that.
Beaten with
Absolutely.
baseball bats.
Isn't this why we watch or we listen to podcasts such as Joe Rogan, what we're striving to be, so that way we can see Joe bring Steve Yang, Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, Dan Crenshaw on and discuss the issues?
Kanye West?
Kanye West. God.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what these town halls are supposed to be.
That's
where
what I was
you
just going to say that too. This
Yeah.
is what a town hall should look like. This is what it should be.
And you know what? Maybe it's just not enough of saying this is what it should be, but maybe we should just create it.
I mean, the thing is, the stakes are so high for these candidates.
Well, I
You
reached out
know,
to 3 people in the community, 2 of which are candidates on my ballot, and I got 0 response.
Oh, yeah, you're not going to get a response.
Did you try knocking on their windows at night?
Yeah, it's going to be multiple
yeah.
times.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about Kanye West, though, because we talked about him briefly and just kind of laughed about it. But I wanted to actually get into why people laugh and maybe actually give him the time that I think he deserves in the conversation as to why this is not a smart choice for candidacy. And I want to actually dig into what your prejudices are against Kanye West as to why you wouldn't vote for him. But I actually would like to explore that and challenge both of you to think thoroughly of why Kanye West isn't why is this not a good move?
I know why this is not a good move, and I don't need to think about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason is we all agree we want him focused on making music. The guy makes some bomb tracks.
I didn't say that.
And
Wow.
we got to keep his energy focused there where he is the best. Like that, like talk about leaning into your strengths. Like, I mean, that's the guy's strength. Let's keep him in that ballpark, right?
My prejudice to Kanye West is I don't want another dramatic TV show sitcom White House. I don't want another catchy name, a household name, I guess you could say, or a generational name to be the next president like that. I just don't want that to happen. I think it's an embarrassment to the U.S. I think it's an embarrassment internationally.
Do you think Kanye's not capable of not having those antics?
I have not looked into anything Kanye has said.
I mean,
I have not looked into any of Kanye's music.
He's known for his antics.
He's known for his antics. He's from everything that I know about him, which is merely just people talking about him, because I really don't see him on TV. I don't see him in the media. I don't listen to his music. I don't know anything about him. I can honestly say I've never actually heard his voice until you played that YouTube video.
Do you think it
No,
bothers
hold
Donald?
on.
Oh, sorry.
I have not heard his voice until you played that YouTube video for me 30 minutes ago, an hour ago, however long it was.
Wow.
Other than sound bites of stupid songs that he's played. That's it. I know so little about him because his antics are so well known. I don't need to know about him.
Okay, so from a spectrum of absolute 0, where would you sit in knowing
No,
Kanye? Okay.
I'm not done yet.
Okay.
I'm not done yet. Hold on.
Let
so much to say about him, but you don't know.
let the man
But
speak.
if you want to vote for him because you are against the two-party system, I stand behind you voting for him.
I figured.
So same principles for me voting for Joe Jorgensen.
So Hollis, on
Yeah,
a scale of 0, which is Scotto not knowing Kanye, how well do you know Kanye West, or how familiar are you with him
And like his platform.
just in general? Music, you said keep him on dope music.
Yeah, I mean,
You know about his music?
Probably on a scale of 0 to 10, I know Kanye at like a 1 or a 2.
Okay.
Like, I know of him. I've seen him on some shows. I've heard a lot of stuff about how crazy he is. I've seen a few interviews with him where I'm like, this guy is kind of hanging by a thread as far as the reality we share.
Okay.
And I have, and I don't even really like know, like I couldn't list off like 10 Kanye songs, but I do know he's very good at making music.
Yeah.
And I think most people agree with me.
I think that he has built wealth and has success because he has some talent and some supporting population or supporting network that allows him to do so. But I don't know how, and I don't know why, and I don't need to, because what big selling point for me never to want to get interested in anything that he has to say is the mere fact that he said that God told him that he had to run for president.
Why does that do that for
I don't
you?
know. Obama might have said the same thing.
Yeah, right, Donald. Almost every president.
I think you have to say that as a president. I don't know.
Yeah, you kind of do still, you know. Why does that do that?
They all
I like
ask
that.
God at some point. They all go like, well, I spoke to my wife and
I spoke to God.
and then I prayed on it after I had my wife's blessing and
You know what?
decided that I think I should take advantage of my civil duty to improve the country.
I feel like you said the
things.
last like 4 presidents have said the same shit.
I'm going to run for president.
They always have to check in with the wife.
The
Yeah,
last,
you got to check.
And then you have to check in with God.
Yeah, you got to check the wife. You got to check God, and then you got to think about
Better
it.
check with God after.
Yeah.
probably
Wife
the
first,
last,
God second.
Probably the last 54 presidents have said that.
Yeah. So
Probably.
why does the God thing throw you off?
Separation of church and state.
Okay.
Bam! First one.
Okay.
Second one, I'm not a religious person. I am not Christian. I'm not Catholic. I have no denomination that's associated
So
with
that's a
Judeo-Christianity.
turnoff for you.
It is a turnoff for me. I am not a Judeo-Christian.
So like Mike Pence would be a big no. He's very religious. Very religious.
Yeah.
So someone who's
100%.
very religious is going to be
100%.
a big no for you.
100%.
Well, I would challenge you, both of you actually, to actually go out and listen to some interviews that Kanye West has done.
About being president or just in
Just
general?
in general, like genuine, because you know what you hear is on the news is that he's crazy, manic, bipolar, blah blah blah. I've followed Kanye West since he came out with I think it was called Back to School. No, College Dropout. That was his first album, College Dropout. And then I think there was Graduation too. I listened to his first 3 albums, which were amazing. And then he had his 4th album, which was 808s and Heartbreaks, which was also ahead of his time. Kanye West is an incredible artist.
Maybe.
I would say that he is a genius when it comes to music.
I don't know if I would be turned off with his music. I mean, I listen to a lot of different genres.
The fact that you like Common is
Yeah,
a good
I
sign that you
love
probably
Common.
like old
Dude,
Kanye.
But-
Kanye's
so
dope.
that's fine.
Everybody knows that.
That's fine.
Kanye's dope. Everybody knows that.
Not everybody, but
All I'm trying to, you asked me why I have a prejudice against him being president.
sure.
That's it. And I don't think that Common would be a good president.
No. But I think it's important for us to actually go into why, as opposed to just writing it off and keeping it superficial, because there is something in depth that you can go into as to say why these people are not qualified for presidency in your view.
But again, it's not that I don't think that he is qualified as much as I think that we need to remove the people who have abused it. So if the 3 of us had Kanye, had Biden, and had Trump, I would probably vote Conway.
Kanye.
I would do Conway, Kanye.
Uh-huh.
I would. If those are my only 3 options.
Wait, you would vote? Wait. You are, in all seriousness, like no joking aside, if you had Trump, Biden, and Kanye as your options,
As my 3 options.
you're
my
telling
only
me
3.
That's why
you're
we're
telling
talking
me
about this stuff.
you
Yeah.
would vote for Kanye over Biden.
Yes, in exactly the same reasons why I'm voting for Joe Jorgensen.
That's a strong statement, man. Because Kanye, like, I mean,
Okay.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
that's,
if you're
that's a wild
sitting
card
if you're
right
sitting
there,
in the
man.
Democratic ivory tower and you're looking down at all your little peasants below you, all your constituents, and you see that, okay, cool, I won, but I missed out on 1/3 of the votes, and a majority of those come from Republicans, or let's say I miss out on 48% of the votes.
Yeah.
23% come from Kanye West. 24 or 5%, I can't do math right now, come from
How's
Republicans.
that finance degree coming?
Yeah, this is why I'm back in school. Back to school. But this is what I'm saying is, like, if you notice that there's a significant population who's voting for somebody else, do you want to strengthen your voting base by capturing that? If you're voting for Kanye West as your only candidate out of the three, and you're a Democrat or a Republican, you need to focus on what draws to that other party to be able to capture that, so that way you're stronger against your main opponent.
Which is why I think it's not okay to just write off a candidate just because of the hype around them. We actually need to dig into as to why we would not vote for this candidate, because I think that doesn't do justice to the fact that they are on the ballot, and it doesn't do justice to our own process.
So this is a great segue into kind of what I've been doing over here on the computer and the interwebs while we've been talking about this. And this actually comes back to kind of this echo chamber thing we were talking about, of like the news that we get is really filtered. So I have been trying very hard to find what looks like an official Kanye for president website. Just, I mean, the most basic.
Okay. Why doesn't have it?
The most official that you can get for Kanye for West is what I'm holding in my hand right now, which is the ballot that he is actually on.
Well, no,
with his vice president.
Yeah, but I'm like, I want to see his platform. I want to see what he stands for. I want to see his propaganda. Like, I want to see what organizations support Kanye. And so if I type in, any of the people we've been talking about, you just type their name in and hit enter. You don't even have to hit like 4 something.
Yeah,
and
populates.
It's the first one. Kanye, I tried Kanye 2020. First thing that comes up is a Wikipedia article. Second thing is Kanye 2020.country. And if you click through to that thing, it's like a really bad website. There's like a video there of like, forgive me, kind of this jolly looking kid, and then a couple of kids saying why they want him. There's looks like I can't hear. What is this? Is this making sound?
So
hang on, wait.
The message
What is
is
just? True justice. We have to think about all these things.
There's a video of Kanye. There's like, buy a Kanye hat for $60. Buy a Kanye hoodie for $160.
Okay.
Buy a hat and hoodie for $200, and that's it. Like, there's. Wait, let me see if I can find some platform information on this thing.
I can tell you some platforms.
So then I did a couple other Google searches, though, and I was like, all right, if Kanye 2020 is not coming up, how about Kanye for President official website? Again, nothing. I get the Hollywood Reporter. I get Wikipedia. I get that 2020.country website. I get Mercury News. I get Variety. I get New York Times.
I think there's some.
I can't find his platform.
I think there's 2 things with this. I think one, New York Times, Vice, all these different places that you're seeing come up right now probably have more. What are they called? Search optimal CEOs. SEOs.
More SEOs, yeah.
Has more SEOs working for them than probably Kanye's presidential.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the truth of the matter
Staff.
is like most people who are searching probably aren't looking for Kanye's platform. And I think this speaks to your point really well, Sinan. But at the same time, like, so now I'm on KanyeWest.com. There's like a little video, click here to register to vote. There's like an album, Wash Us, in the Blood.
Which I think
There's a picture of a
I think
grape.
that he's actually mandated to have register to vote, that type of stuff on his page as he's running for president. I think he's actually mandated.
There's
to
a
have
picture
that
of
on
like
his
a
official page.
There's a picture of, I think it's a green pumpkin maybe, or a green pepper, small tomato, a little flower, and then a rose on a sidewalk. It's kind of an artsy. And that's like a huge photo that takes up like the whole screen. Doesn't say anything around it. It's just on there.
Wow.
I don't know what it's for.
Well, I would encourage anybody who has written off Kanye, not just as president, but as a person, to actually go and listen to some of his interviews. And when I listened to his interviews, like back when I think it was when he released Yeezus, he had these like tirades about being God, being a God, being the greatest musician ever, being like essentially God's gift to the world for being a musician.
I'm going to push back on this super hard because I'm on KanyeWest.com. There's almost nothing about him running for president except for this thing at the top. There's no platform information on any of his things. There's just weird images.
But
like if
push
he was
back on what?
like, I don't even think it's worth trying to spend the time to look into his candidacy.
I'm not
Because
talking about his candidacy. What I'm talking about is people's willingness to dismiss. Like, I'm getting into a broader issue, which is you see something and you're willing to dismiss it based on the information that you've been fed. So I'm not talking about presidency.
So, but in this situation, though, we were talking about presidency,
Yes.
and we are talking about like the information that's out there aligns perfectly with what you'll find.
Well,
He has no platform. There's nothing there.
yeah.
right there.
So
he's
the
not a good
information
candidate.
on this
I'm
one
going to
is
accept your
accurate.
challenge. I'm going to look at Kanye West.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, even the artists that I do like, even the people that generally spark my interest, I don't spend a lot of time looking at them. I don't spend a lot of time looking at their interviews or anything like that. Like, as you know, I'm a big Nas fan. I've never once looked for a Nas interview.
Don't look for them. He is the most boring, like disappointingly boring person.
But even if you're like, dude, he had so much to say, I loved him, the guy was a super fucking great interviewee, I probably still wouldn't look him up.
And I'm thinking that you're missing out on the artist perspective because
Maybe.
part of life is having. Imagine if Da Vinci was around, right? And he was creating these big masterpieces, and he did an interview, and you're like, man, I don't need to listen to what the fuck Da Vinci say. Like,
I'm not saying
You
that.
can't
I'm not saying that I don't
compare Kanye
need
and
to.
Da Vinci.
he
man.
compares himself to Da Vinci.
Well, sure, Trump compared himself to Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what crazy people do.
No. But see, you're dismissing based on this craziness. Trump is in and of himself a historical figure that you can glean a small nugget, even if it's very small. You can add that nugget to your bank of knowledge, of wisdom. And
Well, sure, I can get knowledge from looking at a rock. Like that's and the beholder.
Oh, rocks are hard.
You know, like I could have some. Well, like I mean, I'm not understanding your argument here. Like the reason why we like put people in these categories of say crazy, like a Trump or a Kanye, is because of their actions, their words, the things they say and do, and the millions of data points that support that. Like it's not like someone's coming out of nowhere like, oh, Kanye, yeah, he should be president. Like, no, like Da Vinci invented like incredible things. The guy was like one of the greatest like thinkers of our time. He like invented stuff that simply didn't exist. Trump's never invented anything. He put his name on hotels and he inherited a bunch of money.
So your
Kanye's
argument,
a great artist.
Your argument
but that's
is
it.
that there are a justified amount of data points and reasons why society categorizes and dismisses some people as crazy. And I would say that is you operating with the hive mind.
In most situations, that hive mind paints the right picture. Not in all.
So if I was
That's a slippery slope you're walking on right now.
That's why I'm saying not in all.
That's like
There's
saying all blacks are criminals because the stereotype exists.
Yes, that's a great reference to the same line of thinking.
That's different though, because I'm talking about an individual. No, I'm talking about an individual. You're talking about a group of people. That's very different. And I'm talking about not just an individual type of person. I'm talking about an individual person. I'm talking about Kanye West and Donald Trump.
So let me
If you want to apply that to a broad label of a group of people, that's a whole different thing.
So when you are allowing the hive mind to operate, when you're allowing data points to be used to summarize, you're removing yourself from the individual judgment of character. So you are not taking the time to inquire for yourself whether or not Kanye West is truly crazy.
So there's only so many, I only have so much attention and energy every day. So there's going to be some things where I'm going to find a trusted source, a source that I go, you know what, Sinan, he does his homework. I really like what he looks into. If this isn't super essential to my life, my stance on this thing, maybe I'll just support Sinan's opinion on it, right? That's kind of like the essence of representative democracy in the first place. So I go, you know what, I'm going to trust Sinan's decision here, and I'm just going to go what he's saying. So I'm not going to take my time to look into Kanye. Like, that's a totally reasonable approach to life, because you can't possibly look into every single thing in the concerning detail that's required to be educated on all of it. You just can't.
You cannot.
You can't.
However, you are also taking the extra step of then putting out a value judgment about it. So let's say you're educating me about something I don't know. I don't really know much about marketing. I don't really want to learn that much about marketing. But if someone was to bring in, oh yes, I use the CEO technique, right? I'm making a reference to the
SEO.
I know. The SEO, I'd be like,
how many SEOs do you have?
I heard SEOs are really great, or I heard SEOs aren't really, like, you shouldn't use those. But I'm using your opinion to funnel through me, and I'm not using my own individual judgment. I'm taking the action to make a opinion about it. And I think that a lot of people have opinions about a person like Kanye West, but haven't taken the time to actually digest what Kanye West has to say. I've taken the time. I've listened to his interviews because I'm fascinated by different minds. I've listened to a lot of different people I don't agree with.
Well, there's some people that you probably shouldn't waste your time and hear really bad opinions or really like terrible things. Like, there's some people out there spewing all kinds of just horrible things.
54.
But doesn't mean
54?
like I need to do them the credit of listening to their vitriol, like that's not my responsibility. I have no responsibility for that.
I think it becomes a responsibility when you are willing to take action on those opinions. So this gives me an example of someone who is labeled a witch back in the Salem witch trials, right? Someone would be labeled a witch. It's a lot easier to allow the hive mind to say, look, there's enough data points. I saw her doing X. He saw her doing Y. We think she's a witch. Let's burn her, as opposed to doing the individual judgment, as opposed to doing the enough investigative and individual cognitive work.
Well,
yes, it's a waste of time sometimes. Yes, it sucks up your time. But at least you're coming to an informed decision about something.
In an extreme situation like that, I agree with you. Like, if we were talking about burning somebody, I'd be like, well, shoot, I better actually know what the heck's going on here before I just sentence this person to the stake.
Well, here's an extreme situation. 2016 election. Trump, Clinton.
Okay.
Do people do their research? Do they really get an informed decision for voting? This is how we have...
Some did.
Didn't only 30% of people vote?
But this is the situation that we're in right now. And what we're facing right now is we have 6 candidates on our ballot. Are people getting an informed decision?
It's very tough to get an informed decision on a federal level.
Hard.
So you asked us, you gave us a challenge to look at Kanye West. And I'm understanding that this is the reason to look at Kanye West is mostly because he's on the ballot.
No. The reason to look at Kanye West is that, and I'm not, you guys don't really have to do it. It's more like, if you are so readily to dismiss someone based on evidence collected from other people, take the time to actually inform yourself by observing for yourself what that person's conduct is like in interviews across different mediums. So that could be an interview, that could be some paparazzi thing that you want to inform yourself with, as long as you take in multiple new perspectives.
I think
I take it back on that platform thing. I found his platform.
I think
and it's actually right in front of me the whole time.
I think we have that capacity. I think we have that general interest in doing such with the categories that we find to be important. Hollis over here is probably more interested in what, local business, small business association or leaders are going to want to do, or what's going to impact his small businesses.
I'm going to be interested in access to climbing
Yeah.
issues.
I'm just not interested. No.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. After reading Kanye's platform, I kind of like it.
Oh my God.
It's kind of awesome, but I don't like. To your point earlier, there's nothing backing it up, but I like what he's saying.
Let me put it this way. If you took the time to listen to an actual interview of Kanye West, you will find a few things. One, you see why people think he's crazy. And you recognize that the people who cannot follow his thoughts are often people who don't have a whole lot of imagination or an ability to think abstractly. What Kanye West does when he articulates things is that he uses very abstract language. So he's packing a lot into a single word that you have to do the extra legwork of unpacking his ideas.
I think we
Packing a
should
lot
dive
into a single
into.
word.
Yes.
Give me
Hey.
one example of one word.
I just did.
And don't use that word that you said earlier
He's,
where you're
Perspicacious?
where you're sweating.
Perspicacious.
He's one of the greatest wordsmiths of our time. I don't know what you call that, but yeah, he's good with words. So I actually really like a lot of his platform, except he has one. There's not a lot of detail, and everything's backed up by a religious, what are they
Everything.
called, psalm or something.
Everything.
And then one of his first things very clearly and strongly contradicts like his number 9. So let me just give you the contradiction here. So number 1 on his platform, it's on Kanye2020.country. If anybody wants to check this out, just keep scrolling down. Don't get lost. Number 1, restore faith and revive our constitutional commitment to freedom of religion and the free exercise of one's faith, demonstrated by restoring prayer in the classroom, including spiritual foundations. So right there, you kind of lose me because I'm like, not super cool. Don't really like the idea of making kids pray for some religious belief that they don't know anything about. So
I could interpret that in 2 ways, just to say, is that you could interpret it that way, which I'm very much against, of forcing people to pray. Or you can also interpret it as giving people the ability to pray in their own individual ways. So if you were Muslim in school, you have 5 breaks to go do a prayer if you were legit praying. I could understand that perspective more as giving people the freedom to express their religious traditions at school. I think that very much counters freedom of religion if you're forcing people to pray. That's a contradiction.
So I actually didn't even read that whole thing until just now. So there's no contradiction here. He's just clearly like super religious.
Very religious.
Support
very
faith-based groups. This is number 9. Support faith-based groups to provide vital local services, giving communities a shared purpose in government. So he's actually kind of pushing for bringing government and religion more closely together.
Yes.
But I like a lot of his reform the approach to policing in a manner that treats all Americans the same regardless of race, color, or ethnicity. Refocus police forces on real crime, eliminate federal sentencing guidelines that tie the hands of judges, resulting in ridiculous sentences for the most minor offenses. Take care of the environment, diligently pursuing clean air and water as a national security priority and making renewables top priority. Ensure that we always place Americans first, best interest first and foremost in dealing with foreign affairs. Let's see. Maintain a strong national defense, fully prepared but not so quick to tie up our country's young men and women in foreign quagmires that do not advance our national interests and which last for decades. Provide leadership to restructure our country's education system to serve the most at-risk and vulnerable populations, allowing the widest possible range of educational and vocational paths to job opportunities and career success.
Super broad.
Just one more, and we've gone through them all. Restore the sound national economy, reduce household debt and student loan debt. But the more interesting thing is he has a psalm or whatever it's called under each one of these. So that one is God has plans to give us hope and future, Jeremiah 29:11.
So
each one has a little like religious thing under it.
With the Kanye West, back to what you'll get from any interview with Kanye West. You are going to get 1, justification for why people think he's crazy. But also, if you actually listen to what he's saying, you're going to recognize that people are quick to jump to that conclusion because he's actually providing a lot of ideas that you have to unpack. Easy Entry is the one with Joe Rogan that just aired a few days ago. That's an easy entry into Kanye West, but he's got tons of hour-long interviews with other people before that. The other thing that you're going to see is that Kanye West, when he's articulating things, he's actually highlighting real issues, and he's giving it the necessary context for the implications of all these things. So, for example, he's talking about in the Joe Rogan interview, he's talking about the issue with abortion and how the problem of pro-choice, pro-life doesn't actually help the families, and that the way that you can actually help these families is by rethinking orphanage, rethinking adoption, and changing the way that we perceive having children that don't have parents, and creating a better way to, maybe traffic's the wrong word, but to have children accessible for anybody who's looking to parent, instead of to look at adoption as this like gross thing. How can we provide orphans with community care? Can people from the community step in and help orphans? So he's saying these things, but he's not providing them with detail. He's overly relying on the listener to be able to try to figure out what he's saying. So that's a big issue with Kanye West, is that he does not articulate his ideas with enough detail and enough sufficient demonstration of expertise or mastery over the subject matter itself.
I think that's a strike against someone who wants to be president.
100%.
So one thing
100% a strike is that you cannot articulate your ideas very effectively.
That's the whole job.
But
one thing he did on his
I would
website,
disagree with both of you on that. I would say that it's good to have those types of thinking outside of the box situations, and then you find and you
people
surround yourself with SMEs.
Well, but really quickly though, wait. But Sinan, you were saying that like he isn't providing the detail in what he's saying, so it's clear where he stands on things and what the information is. You're saying he's not clearly communicating. Yeah, you were just saying he's not clearly communicating, like the amount of detail to feel he really understands the subject.
No, it's that his mind, he may understand the subject very well. He may have intimate details about how he would go about things, but his mind is working so fast and he communicates so abstractly that he's running through these ideas in his head at this high level that you have difficulty following, because he's not unpacking this stuff for you as if you don't know what he's talking about. He's assuming like you understand what he's saying. Now, when he's saying these things, the part where he loses me as a listener is I'm like, I get it. I get what you're saying. Why don't you just go do something about it? Like, you have the resources. Why don't
you run for president?
No. Here's an example of there was this TMZ outburst that he had, which was part of the whole like bipolar issue that he was doing. And in the TMZ rant, he was saying something along the lines of how Black Americans enslave themselves with their own thoughts. Okay? That's true of anyone. You can enslave yourself as a person with your own thoughts. And it's like, okay, I get it. So why do you have to belabor that point? And he goes into depth on this enslavement process when you're like, I get it. So what do we do about it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, awareness is the first step to change.
He is pure awareness, right? He's just pure, this is what I'm aware of. And it's like, okay, we get it too. There's other intelligent people out there who can understand things at the complex level that you can understand them. But can you articulate a way to carefully and systematically change the direction of those things?
Can you focus on a plan?
Can you focus on a plan?
Yeah, I will listen to some Kanye stuff.
I would encourage it.
Yeah, just to see what the heck he's saying. Mm-hmm. But one thing he did do that did kind of blow my mind from a marketing standpoint that I quite like is most of these websites anything political, there's like a pop-up that's like, join our newsletter and like, give me money and all this stuff. There's like none of that on his page. And you have to go all the way down to the bottom. And then it says, stay up to date. And then there's no field to enter any information. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Like it just says your phone, your zip, sign up. And you have to actually click sign up. Then this magic box appears and you can punch your email in there.
Sad.
So I think that's actually kind of rad. And I was like, whoa.
So I think that
Credit to you, Kanye.
So I think
That's
that
going against the grain. I'm signing up right now.
Some of his ideas.
Don't use social thorns to sign up.
Yeah, please. So some of his ideas.
We should give our email away for everybody to get all the hate mail we're gonna get.
Some of his ideas are great in theory.
I don't want to give them
Right, like the value that we should help create a sustainable planet is a great idea. Right, that makes so much sense. Yes, a sustainable planet. But he's trying to make those changes at the presidential level, while at the same time touting how we need to free ourselves from having, like he was complaining in the Joe Rogan interview, that Universal wouldn't, or I forgot what it was, I think it was Adidas or some major corporation would never approve him to be on the board. And he was like, well, I have the best ideas. I brought these ideas that brought this much capital. Why wouldn't I be on the board? And it's like, he's using those experiences to circumvent the board in itself. I'll just be my own CFO. I'll just be my own, and I'll just create the empire myself. And there's this like weird thing where it's like, well, if you are so committed to this idea that you should create these own empires, why do you need the presidency? Just go freaking create the utopia that you want to do. You have the capital, you have the resources. Why do you need the legitimacy of the presidency? Why do you need to be the guy? And that's where a big issue for me is with Kanye West, is that there's this seemingly every man's disconnect. Like he's not connected with practicality. There's so much high intuition and openness to these new experiences. It's like he can't get brought down to earth to be practical. And Trump is similar. Trump is similar in the sense that he is very up high level communicating with you. He's not getting down into the weeds and details.
Maybe Elon Musk is also similar.
Elon Musk can break down, though, like complex computations that they're working on. And if you've listened to what he's saying, he can articulate the problems with all of these issues, say why this is an issue, how to overcome the issue.
Okay.
I would say
he can deliver a solution.
He's more like your Da Vinci example. Like he's a true genius. Like Elon Musk, like I mean, he's incredible. And I think Trump is a very, 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 very intelligent man, because you can't pull off what he did by accident like that. You know, you can't stumble your way into that.
And it might not be traditional intelligence. It might be like straight savvy.
It's a form of intelligence.
It's a form of something.
Yeah. I mean, Musk is that guy's a whole other level. I mean, he'll go to his like engineers and basically like be like, we need to be able to make this part for 10K. And they go, well, that's impossible. And then he's like, hang on. and then he'll literally go work on it himself, or, you know, like, I mean, the guy's crazy.
That's fair.
There was this scene in Silicon Valley. Did you guys ever watch that show?
Yeah,
it's
so
so
awesome.
good. So there's this CEO they're going to run out of money. Like, I forgot how many millions of dollars. And the CEO just kind of has like this autism moment where he just kind of like veers off into the distance and is like, they're talking about these stressful financials. He's like, bring me two Burger King.
I was going to say cheeseburgers.
What are they called? The Burger King? They're not Big Macs. Whoppers. 2 Whoppers. And he has like a different side. So they bring him Whoppers. They're like, we have this deadline. Why are you just talking about Whoppers? And he just slowly eats both of them, or doesn't eat both of them. He's like, poppy seeds. I'm like, what the fuck is poppy seeds? And he goes through this like weird process where he's saying that the poppy seeds that they use on all these burgers is a supply chain that they go through that's what's keeping up this industry afloat, is that they're ordering poppy seeds for these burgers. That's what makes them give that extra Burger King taste. There's going to be what are they called? Cicadas.
Oh, I remember that.
Right? That emerge every 17 years, and they crush poppy seed or sesame seed harvestation. So there's going to be a huge increase in the price of
poppy seeds.
So they're going to bet on the futures of poppy seeds, and that's how he's going to get the extra 30, 40 million today. On the sure bet that these poppy seeds are going to go up in price.
I wonder if they're doing that type of thing with like watching weather, like El Nino.
Oh
things
man,
like that.
My grandfather.
that example didn't come up out of nowhere. There's people who just like they drift off into space and think about.
No, there's brilliant people out there who puzzle these things out. Like my grandfather had a story where he was at some conference and he met someone from Enron, and he was like, "What does Enron really do?" And the guy was like, "We sell weather." And he was like, "You sell weather?" And he's like, "Yeah, if you've got a little store that sells more beer when it's sunny, you can bet against that and you can insure that and you can insure it with us. So if you have, like the weather doesn't cooperate, we'll compensate you."
It's fake.
But
That's some made up shit though.
No, it's not. Enron was doing all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah, that's why they went. I mean,
Well, yeah,
yes, they are.
it happened.
They are. What's it called? I'm looking for a specific. Speculating. They are speculating, making bets on speculation. But like over time, the speculation becomes so like abstract and inconsequential that you just have something completely made up that 50 people in a department are working on.
Yeah,
which is part of why Enron went, kaput.
Yeah, I mean, it's just insurance, right?
I'm actually speculating on something for my future based off of weather pattern.
What?
I'm planning on leaving California for one main reason. Well, several main reasons. But global warming. I want to move north. It's going to get warmer and better north.
You got to find yourself a nice Canadian girl.
Dude, before my current girlfriend.
They have all the
that was
water
the
up
agenda. Hopefully she's not listening.
So wait, but global warming isn't like everything's necessarily getting hotter. It's just more extreme climate. So you may not see that warm weather for a long time.
Possibly.
Yeah, but it's generally speaking, it's getting warmer.
Yeah, generally. Yeah. Overall. Temperature.
Higher altitude, warmer climate.
I hear we might actually become more tropical because right now we're like a desert.
Yeah.
No,
we've seen a lot of rain.
There's different studies. Generally, if you look 300 miles south of you, that's what the climate's going to be in about 10 to 15 years. Supposedly.
That's fast.
Supposedly, yeah. 10 to 15 years.
That's fast.
Yeah. Look 300 miles south
They
of you.
also told me by this time Florida
that's
would
probably
be
a
underwater.
scare tactic.
300 miles south. I don't know if it changes that much. That's like,
That's Ensenada.
yeah,
No,
that's like a little bit.
That's
down
like Bishop,
Baja,
dude. Bishop
300
is
miles south.
but north.
Yeah, 300
We're
miles.
300 miles south of Bishop.
Yeah.
Well, that's also inland though. So that's,
yeah.
that's
So
not
if
quite
you go
the same.
like, what's coast, like Santa Cruz? 300 miles, probably about that.
Yeah. You're getting into the Bay Area.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
maybe San Luis Obispo.
San Luis.
Okay.
San Luis Obispo is about 300 probably. So, that climate's not that much different, really.
Probably not as deserty.
Yeah. But what if you're in places like, I don't know.
I know
maybe,
nothing.
New Jersey. 300 miles south of New Jersey. What's that
Big
look
difference. I don't know.
No idea.
like? Or 300 miles south of, I don't know, the Tennessee-Kentucky border.
I don't know what's going to happen with this climate change stuff. And I think
Yeah,
that
there's-
people, part of the, I think people keep predicting what's going to happen, but I remember in 7th grade them talking about global warming. That's when it was called back then.
Mm-hmm.
Global warming, and how Florida, because of the rising sea levels, would be gone around this time. And it's still very much present.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being in Louisiana, and we had a small tropical storm that came through, and land was lost. Straight up, land was lost. Like soil erosion,
Right.
it was gone. Water came in, grabbed it.
That's a
brought it
storm.
back out. Yeah, but it's a storm, and it's storms like they've never seen before. That's taking that land.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not doubting climate change. I'm fully
Yeah, I'm not doubting
believing
it. I'm not
in the science of it.
I'm not aware of what the predictions are right now, the current predictions with the education that's being released or with the studies that are being released. But I am saying that I do think for me, going north is one of the options for me going north is like Northwest or North Pacific area. Climate's going to be affecting that area to make it a better, more suitable climate that I'm going to enjoy, and that it's going to be worse climate here in San Diego.
Do you have a place you want to move to?
Honestly, I would like to go a little bit north of Vancouver,
Oh, really? Like
You're talking
Vancouver,
about-
Washington, or Canada?
Canada.
Ooh,
Technically
nice.
both.
Yeah.
Technically both.
Yeah, that you
But
can
I
get
would
some
like to
real
go.
cool
I
stuff
would like
up
to be
there.
in BC. I don't particularly like the tax system that's in BC. They make a joke up there. BC stands for bring cash, not British Columbia, because it's so much more expensive than anywhere else in Canada.
Dude, I would love to go there. It's just it gets cold, man.
Yeah, good.
Well,
I mean,
10,
good.
15 years, maybe not so cold as you think.
I hate the cold. That's why I live here. I
Yeah.
hate being cold. I like snow when it's fresh, but then when it's just cold and the snow's old
Yeah.
and the wind's
You know
going.
what though? Man,
Ugh.
I did my trip to Michigan. Like I left Michigan because I hated the cold growing up. I hated snow. I hated dealing with all that crap. And being back in Michigan, watching the leaves change, like I was like, oh man, I miss this. I miss the cold. Going up to Big Bear this past weekend, we saw temperatures dip into the low 30s, possibly even high 20s. I was like, oh, this is great. I
Yeah,
like
it's
this.
great when you're on vacation.
Part time.
It
yeah.
sucks. So like people are like, oh, well, I miss seeing the leaves change. I'm like, so you would trade 1 month that's awesome out of the year for like 6 months of shitty winter? Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there is something to it. Like,
Dude, give
it
me
is beautiful.
Give
It
me
is
6
beautiful.
months of powder to go and ski. I'm down.
Sometimes though you don't get the powder. Sometimes you just get the cold.
yeah,
You
I
know
mean, you
you've
live-
been in
Yeah.
winters like that.
I mean, I don't know what's the weather like in Salt Lake. You grew up in
Salt Lake is.
I grew up
rad.
north of Salt Lake.
Okay.
And I also lived in Salt Lake.
Yeah, I lived in Salt Lake too.
Let me put it this way. Sometimes there would be stretches, maybe 3-4 weeks. There's no new snow. It's just fucking cold. There's high wind. And it's just miserable. The,
Right.
the snow's all black from the
Yeah.
pollution,
From
the smog, from the
exhaust.
exhaust, all that extra waste.
I remember that
gross.
from Michigan, but I don't remember that from Salt Lake City, living in Salt Lake City. Because my time in Salt Lake City was going and getting rad over at Alta, Snowbird,
So
Brighton.
Vancouver doesn't get a lot of snow, and if it does,
great
it
snow.
doesn't stick around. Like you have to go
Yeah.
up to Whistler and
You gotta
stuff.
go up. I was gonna say
But
up.
what
to,
it does do is
99.
basically October 1st, the clouds come in, and then and then it starts drizzling, and then it drizzles one time for 9 months straight, and then like
Wait, one time? Oh,
It- it
out of
only-
9 months, it only drizzles.
no, yeah, it only rains one
Once.
time. It just never stops.
Okay.
And it rains for 9 months, and then basically in June, like the sun comes back out, and everybody throws a party for like 3 months, and it's amazing. But when I lived up there, I lived in my grandfather's basement for a year. So I was like not only in a place where there was no sun, but then I was in a basement that had like this slit window. And I legitimately started to lose it being like a San Diego kid.
Yeah.
And there was one time when I was driving to work, probably like February, and I'm going over this bridge, and way off in the distance, I can see this little beam of sunlight cutting through the clouds and landing on the side of a mountain. And just seeing that made me feel better. And all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, I feel better."
Yeah.
And it was like, "Holy crap!" I didn't
Seeing
even
the
realize how
sun.
like sad I was until I saw the sun.
Seeing the sun brings you life. You're almost like this reptile in some way that it just energizes you. Seeing the ocean does that for a lot of people.
For sure.
Being in the ocean,
sure.
being in the, I love the sun. Got to get that vitamin D, man. And it just rained for the first time in months. Sunday.
Love it.
In San Diego, and
Was that what that cloud debris was?
yeah, it was barely rain. And I'm not gonna enjoy as much the rainy days, the cloudy days, because when it's been summer, even though it's been hot, I've been able to just go outside and be in the sun, and I love that.
Oh, see, I'm loving rainy seasons.
I like them too.
I want more rain here in San Diego. California, obviously, just as a whole for the fires, but I love good rains. I miss Florida rains. I miss Florida showers.
Ugh, I do not miss.
Dude, I
Florida
miss
rains.
those thunderstorms. I miss those
I
golf
like-
ball size raindrops that would just take out a small cat walking down the road.
The reason.
Yeah, I love a good thunderstorm.
The
That's a
reason
good
why I didn't
time.
like the Florida rains when I lived there was because it was hot rain, and when it cleared, it was still freaking hot
Yeah.
and it's just heavy. Whereas here, the rain's a little colder, but then the weather changes.
Are we boring people to death with this right now? We're just
talking about the weather?
People
Well,
are
this is
probably,
I like leaves.
This is part of getting older, man.
yeah.
But like one of the things that is so great about California, so great about San Diego, is that when it does rain, the foliage that we see
Oh, the
is
life that comes up.
I've never seen anywhere in the world
Yeah.
like this.
Super blooms, man.
The super bloom. There is just nothing like it. That we went. We didn't really know you then, Hollis, but
Valley of the Moon.
not even Valley of the Moon. We went out to Anza Borrego
Yeah.
2-3 years ago, and there was a butterfly migration. That there was literally Scott committed butterfly genocide just driving his truck through this place. Like we pulled off out of the truck, and there's just murder all over his truck. And these butterflies.
And if you looked at the truck from the front, you wouldn't have known it was a black truck.
Dude, it was just covered in brown and red blood of the sins of these butterflies.
That's a really amazing experience. I've seen the super bloom like a couple times, but I think the same time you're talking about it was really big.
2018, I think.
Yeah, and I think I went out there a few weekends
for
that to catch it. And the amazing thing to me was, one, how fast it came and went.
And it changes.
3 weeks. Yeah, and it changes each week. And so if you were there the week prior, you would have seen these weird caterpillars all over everything.
Right.
And you're like, God, these caterpillars are everywhere. And then the following week is just like this butterfly storm.
So
Huge. It's just crazy.
And then another month later, also the cacti are blooming, right? It goes from all these poppies to also you've never seen these cactus bloom like this. And you're just like, this horribly sharp, painful thing produces this beautiful flower.
This pain plant.
Pain plant.
This pain plant.
And you're reminded how beautiful and how sinister the desert is, because all it wants to do is kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I go out of Valley of the Moon, some plant somehow reaches its arm over and stabs you with something. Yep. Doesn't matter what it is.
Valley of the Moon's a pretty special place, man. That place is really cool.
This Saturday, I'm excited.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to talk about Valley of the Moon. We don't need to bring attention to our little hidden gem
Our
in San
hotspots?
Diego. Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah. I know a lot of these
Keep that one
places
for
are getting
ourselves.
more and more crowded. This overlanding stuff that I've been into, it's getting kind of crazy. Where some of these real gems like Valley of the Moon, I mean, you used to be able to go out there and you could spend a whole day there and maybe see one or two other trucks.
I've seen no one there before.
Yeah, and now there's trains. People will come out and
You
they'll
serious?
be like,
We are part of the problem.
Yeah, and there'll be
So-
20 people who come out all at once and they'll check it out.
I've seen caravans.
Yeah.
Caravans, that's probably an inappropriate term so close to the border out there, but
Call it whatever you want. I don't know what you call it.
The thing
but
is you would hope that the danger factor would keep people away, plus the access would keep people. But how do you guys feel about access issues? Because on the one hand, people say you should increase access. What do you guys think about places like this becoming a regular spot for folks?
I don't want to see it turn into a permitting situation. I hate that where to do these hikes in San Diego, you need a permit and stuff.
No, I don't think we will see that, but I think there's going to probably be some development on the road getting out there. And I don't know. I have mixed feelings on that. One, I don't want to see that because I like the remoteness of it, because oftentimes when I'm out there, I am one of the only people out there.
We've been the only people out there. When we heard those we had 4 bobcats, they were mating.
Such a cool place. But
So cool.
But the second,
You ever heard
on
of
the other side
bobcat?
of the thing,
They sound like boulder gnomes.
I don't
on
want
the other side of the coin, though, I would like to see it have more access, because I don't want to have my truck get the damages that it sustained going out there.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to ride through that area multiple times, bringing my group of friends out there. So it's expensive. I mean, I basically have to get a new alignment or adjust my alignment every time I go out there.
Yeah, that's actually why I go.
To go and get a new alignment and fix your rear end.
I don't need. I mean, the Land Cruiser does just fine.
You got a dislocated U joint, just go drive out to Valley of the Moon. It'll pop it back into place.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun is the challenge of getting out there.
I agree that is part of the adventure.
It's
but
not a
that's
challenge
what-
for this guy. This guy had a cup of tea. We were going through the gauntlet, and he's just holding this whole thing. This guy's arm is like a chicken's neck stabilizing. It is the whole truck is bouncing around, and his cup is just perfectly smooth, and he's taking sips of it as we're rocking left and right. I'm like, how? I can't even drink while walking.
Yeah, and as far as off-roading goes, there's 2 ways to get in there really. There's 2 different routes. And if you come in from the 8 freeway,
I don't know 2 ways to get in. Are you talking about
Yeah, there's two ways in. So if you come in from the freeway side, right, and you go up the kind of like, it starts off as a paved road and then it kind of breaks up.
That's
and
normal
Does
way.
the switchback?
That's the normal way, right? And you
Yeah.
come down, and there's one spot that if you have like a Subaru or something, like, you don't want to take it up there. But for like Jeepers and stuff, like, it's not a hard trail by any stretch. It's very mild. But there's another way to get in there where you actually go from Hukumba. There's a border trail where you can run right along the border fence. And then the border fence actually stops because the mountains start.
I know what you're talking about.
And those are some jagged mountains. And there's a little ridge that you can basically climb up that ridge. There's a trail there. And that trail's no joke. Like, that trail is actually pretty challenging.
We need to do that in your vehicle.
Yeah, but
Your vehicle.
honestly, though, so it's great. But there's one spot along that trail where I can make it up about half the time. Sometimes I'll need someone to give me a tug because it's basically this waterfall of 3 rock steps that you have to climb up. And there's a drop off if you're heading into the valley on the passenger side of your car. And there's like a rock feature that kind of guards you a little bit, but it's not easy. So like that section is like, shit, every time I shit myself.
Have you? So when you're land cruising, I've always wondered this. Like, is the danger of flipping exciting to you?
No, I hate.
Do people like doing that though?
I think people, like, you definitely get an adrenaline rush out of it because you have some ability to control your vehicle, but at the same time, you're kind of just dealing with these weird physics, and you're just hoping that something doesn't
Hopefully I'm
happen.
not too top heavy.
Like, if you flip over, you may not be getting out of there.
Yeah,
I mean, you can get seriously injured quite easily. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised it doesn't happen more often. But most people are just incredibly cautious because you are dealing with a situation where if you put a wheel over the side, you're going to roll down a 200-foot ledge. Like,
Yeah, even if you survive, it's an expensive. Like,
yeah.
replacing cars is not easy for most
Or
people.
like you get it stuck there. Like, how do you get your car out?
You're not.
Yeah, so like guys will do it. I mean, there's an organization called Southern California Off-Road Recovery,
Wow.
and it's a Facebook group.
Bless
Score.
those people, man.
Well, because like guys are really into off-roading. They live for this stuff, and they're like, a recovery is like the most fun you can have. So, but yeah, that one spot getting in there is pretty sketchy. But Scott, if you want to do it, I'd be happy to do it.
I'm down.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm down.
I'm not.
It's fun, yeah.
I'll watch.
And I've got
Yeah.
I've got new suspension on the truck, so I've been wanting to try it out.
We gotta go break it in. I'm down.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think this is a good podcast. I think there are some topics that were important. I think
I mean, I could still keep talking about Valley of the Moon and access issues because I still question about that stuff.
I don't think it's going to like your nearest town is Hukumba, and like if Hukumba hasn't started like getting more populated by now, it's not going to happen anytime soon. So I'm not worried about it, but it's just like people taking care of the place, not leaving trash,
That's the big thing. It's like it seems synonymous. You see how I did there? My own name. pun.
Synonymous. There you go. I like it.
It seems synonymous when you increase access as you increase trash, and that's the unfortunate thing with access issues is that you have you don't have stewards of the environment coming in to join in. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority of the time when I see people who are in Land Cruisers or four-wheelers, they're usually not stewards of the environment. They're tearing shit up. They're blowing dust everywhere. They're playing loud music. They may leave some trash around. Do you see that in the groups that because that's what I see.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They're usually not considerate of the other campers around them who don't want to hear a loud engine ripping and roaring through.
I don't know. I don't know if it's like the people that I go with or whatever, but I rarely, like the people that I go with, we are generally pretty quiet. We absolutely never leave anything behind. But at the same time, in a place like Valley of the Moon, there's kind of like little roads that like stop and then they turn into boulders and stuff. And the reason people are going out there is to try to drive over those boulders. So like,
I'm trying to climb those boulders.
yeah. So like they may leave tire marks on those boulders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of part of it. But as for like being respectful, for the most part, I've been with people who haven't, or who are.
You seem
Yeah.
like in terms of the types of people that I've seen, which is weird because these vehicles are not cheap. So you
Oh,
seem
yeah.
like if we were gonna do like a social hierarchy, you'd be like middle class,
Well, I mean, as far as it goes, like,
right? I've seen some low class acting people
yeah,
who,
and
who enjoy the very sport that you enjoy as well.
yeah, but like, I'm not like a off-roader, but I like going to really cool places. And as you guys know, for me, it's like, honestly, I would prefer to hike in. Like, I used to love backpacking, but like, I can't do it. So the Land Cruiser is the closest I get, and that works for me.
And when I say, I just want to clarify when I say low class, what I mean by that, I typically view someone as low class as someone who's very inconsiderate of other people's space and environment. So if we're out at Valley of the Moon and someone is, ripping their engine and going, yeah! And it's like,
Yeah.
yes, you're out here in the middle of nowhere, but we're out here in the middle of nowhere to get away from just that.
How about the guy who shows up with a rifle and starts shooting into Mexico from the U.S. border
Right.
next to us climbers?
Yeah,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
do like really inconsiderate. It's like, oh, I'm out here, so this is my
Yeah.
time too. And it's like, it's your vacation, it's my vacation, and there's this level of just wanton disrespect, or maybe a level of not giving a shit of respecting anyone else because this is now all about you. That's what I see as low class.
The thing you've really got to look out for is some of these.
You are middle class.
Yeah, you're very respectful.
I don't
You're
know
very
by what
considerate.
standard, but like some of these places get known as like kind of
Free for all.
bucket list destinations, like a place you've got to check out at some point. Like there's a place in Utah, Tokerville Falls. Of course, there's Moab. There's like, as you, like and places, some certain spots in Anza Borrego. There's tons of them, right? But once they get known as like, this is a spot, that's the thing. They get really crowded, and you've got tons of groups going out there all the time, people traveling from all around the country to go there. And so I think that's kind of the fear is like, I'm kind of hoping that this whole thing's a bit of a fad. And honestly, it dies down a little bit.
What is a fad?
Well, like the term overlanding, which is basically like car camping,
Oh,
but like off-road car camping.
sure.
I kind of hope it starts to like not be as cool, just to kind of keep
I
some
kind
of
of
these.
doubt it, dude.
I don't.
Keep some people.
I'm cool
Keep
with
these
it.
places private.
I'm cool with it.
Secluded.
I think that it brings people closer to nature and has the potential to make people more aware of the footprint that they're leaving.
Totally. I mean, that's
so
I
I'm
love
cool
it.
with it on that regard.
Yeah.
Like I don't know people who overland who leave trash around. I don't know people who overland who don't know how to bury their waste.
Nah, they're pros at that stuff. Like they
Yeah.
like you don't have
So
to worry
that's
about
what
them
I'm
leaving
saying.
bags of chips around.
It's
Right.
it's the people who have the access that can get there, who are the delinquents who have
Low class.
the crappy vehicle that can scoot out there. Like that's when you start having, I think, issues with some of
Leave
this
glass
camping.
bottles, shatter
glass
glass
bottles
do
shattered.
graffiti.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, that's really horrible. Like I would hate to see that for Valley of the
I
Moon.
would say that if I want to try to be positive about it, is that if the places that I love going become crowded because of access, is that I need to remind myself that I'm an adventurer at heart and I can go find new places where people aren't. And usually that means that they're in uncomfortable spots, places that people don't want to go because they're uncomfortable. People don't go to Valley of the Moon because it's comfortable getting there. Like the people who go there are going because it's
My first time going out to Valley of the Moon, I was terrified. Like I brought a pistol. I was worried that people were going to come over the border and rob us. Like I had no idea what I was getting into. All I saw was where it was on the map.
Yeah.
Like I was terrified.
By the way, anybody who believes, first of all, Trump never delivered on building a wall. Secondly, this country does not have a huge wall because I can walk across that border at Valley of the Moon. And I have met, all of us have run into people illegally crossing that border.
That's how Hollis and I met.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like that was quite surprising.
Before knowing that you guys would be doing this.
Yep.
Yeah, small world, you know. It's
Small
so,
world.
Small town
so
San Diego
interesting.
here.
Yeah, then 2 years
Seriously.
later you meet up again, and I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I got to introduce you to Hollis.
Yeah, pretty crazy story. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we were out there, going on a climbing trip.
Well, Hollis was out there
And,
gangbanging.
Hollis was out there.
Repping the hood.
Hey, we don't need to get into what I'm into. Okay?
Hollis was out there having a good
Ripping
time.
Bloods and Crips
Yeah.
at the same time.
I do bad stuff.
So we come up to the spot where we climb. We're a stone's throw away from Mexico. And he's like, yeah, these 3 guys just came up. I think they were from Mexico.
There were 4 of them,
4 guys came up. I
Backpacks?
think they were from Mexico.
giant backpacks,
Yep.
black sweatshirts, black pants, and
Mule.
yeah,
1980s sneakers.
I was because like before you guys showed up, I had a few friends who were climbing, so they were up there, and I was the only one down by the car. So I decided to just go look out at a viewpoint. So I walked to the very end of that little path there, and I stood on a boulder, and then I started hearing like really big like cracking sounds, like branches breaking, and I was like, "Is there like a goat or some kind of like animal or something?"
There's horses
You know,
out there, which I've yet to see.
yeah, like a
Wow,
horse or
oh, you haven't seen them yet? I haven't seen them yet.
yeah, like I don't know. So I was kind of thinking that, and then the way that path works, the rock I was on, the path actually goes behind me and runs in between the car and where I was.
Okay.
And so before I know it, 4 international travelers basically come around that boulder, and they're in between me and everyone else in the car, and they don't see me. And I'm just standing there on this boulder staring at them, and they're looking because now they notice there's climbers. So they're like, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And I'm just standing there silent, like, are these guys going to murder me?
Yeah.
And so eventually I just kind of work it up. I go, hi. And I just yell like, hola. And I yell it really loud to these guys. And then they all turn around. They're super startled. And then I'm just like, es bueno. And then in my like horrible broken Spanish, I was like, cuatro amigos aquí, and I like start trying to like tell them, and I was like, I'm cool. Don't worry. And they like all shook my hand because I was just doing like whatever it took just not to get murdered at that point. So that I shook all their hands. I was just like, it's all right. Like, I don't care. Let me see if the people I'm with are cool.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back and tell you guys if you can pass through here. If not, you should go a different way. So
You said that in Spanish?
No, I just kind of like waved my arms around and yelled stuff.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't think you
I
said that.
I said that in English. I don't know if they got it.
And I'm pretty sure they'd be like, yeah, we don't need your permission to cross. Obviously.
Well, I don't know. They don't know if I have a GPS phone
Sure,
or I'm going to
sure,
call,
sure.
you know, like
I get what you're
La
saying.
Migra, And so I go back over to the truck, and right at that point, a different Jeep, not Scotty, who was with before, they were there, and I was like, hey, there's some guys over there. I don't know what you think about that. And they were like, we're leaving. So they just left.
I think it's lame.
Yeah, I thought that was really weird. And then,
You shook.
yeah, they just took off, and I don't know if they called.
You didn't know who they were?
No, they were just some other like guys in Jeeps. And then, and then I was sitting there for like 5 minutes, and I was like, I'm totally alone here. If you guys want to come take my keys or my car or anything, they can just come do it. And so I was getting kind of nervous. And then right then, Scotty shows up. And what was your other friend's name?
Evan.
Evan.
They show up like blasting guitar.
Like
America.
in my mind, it was basically that. It was
Yeah,
basically
exactly.
like
You got
America rolled up.
A
They had-
freaking giant marine with this dude
Yeah,
who's construction guy over in this big truck. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, thank God.
The little Jewish girl in the back.
Yeah, little Jewish
Yeah,
girl,
little
a
Jewish
couple
girl
of
in the
dogs. They had a couple of dogs with them. I was
Fucking
like,
murder
"Oh."
dogs, too.
I was like, oh, thank God. So I introduced myself to these guys, and then they went over, and they were like, what, really over there? So of course they went over, and
No, I heard
Started checking
Scott
stuff
went
out.
over.
I
and
went
Evan
over.
was like,
Oh,
idiot.
Yeah, I went over. I found them. I
Yeah.
heard them.
yeah,
I couldn't quite tell what they were saying, but what it surmised to be is that they were going to go like up this other path that's behind our climbing wall.
yeah,
They knew that there were people this way, right? And they're like, yeah, like saying things like, oh yeah, izquierda, different direction, like left or right or whatever. And I go like Evan. In the meantime, he's like several yards behind me. Like he's probably, I would say 20 yards, 30 yards behind me. And all of a sudden I hear, Scott, are you okay? And I'm probably this close from sitting on this sofa to the people are probably on the other side of your wall. Like I'm that close. And all I hear is, hey, what are you doing? You know,
I mean,
I get back and I'm
going over there.
I get back and I'm like, dude,
That's hilarious.
I could hear them. I was right next to them. And
I'm glad you could hear them so people don't think I'm making this up.
No.
Like,
I ran into two guys once.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a heavily trafficked area. You talk to any border patrol agent that's over there, they'll tell you they see them, they catch them.
Yeah.
You know, they do what they can to protect the border. It's there.
And I think
I've seen border patrol agents chase down people out there. But what that area is for people to kind of get an idea of how that terrain looks like, it's a rocky, isolated terrain.
It's not easy.
It's not easy to cross there.
It's dangerous.
For the hiker, for the mountaineer, for the avid, we'll say mule, it's a simple place to get through. If you know your geology or your topography, and if you know where your roads are. I think that the people that come over from that area, from what I've seen so far, they're typically military-aged males. It's not families that are coming over.
No, I've never seen women, children.
It's individuals who appear to be bringing over a package and then possibly going back over into Mexico to get another package and continue that turn.
Big time.
And the border patrol agents that I talk to, because I talk to them when I go out there, you know, I say, hey, how's the climate? How are things going? Are you seeing a lot of traffic lately? You know, those types of questions, just for my, you know, basic being prepared going out there. And they'll tell me pretty similar stuff. Like, we caught 5 guys the other day, or we caught, you know, a group of 2 people over here and a group of 2 people over there the other day, or a pair, you know, like, it's a place not to take lightly.
No, and I think that that's one of the dangers with Valley of the Moon becoming more accessible, is that you're going to have people who are not taking it seriously. Someone's going to get too drunk and wander off. They're going to do something dumb.
There was a guy who was shit-faced, an American, who was shit-faced, walking around the desert. He got out of one of the Jeeps that they were out four-wheeling with. No water, no sun protection. This was like a hot day. Like, we were getting into the 90s.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
And it was just this American guy. He said that he was flying a drone, chasing the Jeeps with the drone. And then they went off. He went to go get the drone, but the drone crashed, so he went to go find the drone. He got disoriented and didn't know where he was. He happened to upon, I think it was Kellen and I who were out there. He happened to upon us. It was like, I have no idea where I am, guys. I've been wandering around for like 3 hours. Can't find my drone, can't find my people.
You're an idiot.
And we're like, dude, we got you. Just follow us. So we brought him to where we were, and we hung out with him for a while, drank a couple beers, got him some water, he hydrated, and then his caravan came through, you know, just because
you saved his
roads
life.
are there. Literally, we saved his life.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff where it's like, I watched this documentary series called Connected, and they were talking about how all of our piss and shit's got like drugs in it. So like when you shit and piss into the toilet, that eventually goes into the ocean. And they were like showing like Britain, one of Britain's like marine bays had like high amounts of like cocaine. So what happens is these fish are so doped up.
Where is that? We should go distill some of that out, make some money.
No, you would get gonorrhea for some
I'm
reason.
just kidding. Of course I don't want to do
So
that.
these fish go out, and because they're doped up, they go out into dangerous territory without a fear response. So then they get eaten a lot.
So you're
more.
telling me there are these fish that are all like coked out?
Yeah.
That are just like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Fish that are eating drugs and other toxins from a base in England are getting fucked up and eaten by sharks.
Pretty much. And so think how simple it takes for a freaking fish to like lose that fear response. We do that with our people. That guy did not have an appropriate fear response.
That dude, yeah, he did not have an appropriate fear response.
And to be honest, I mean, there's a lot of big landmarks out there. So like, if you're losing where you are in Valley of the Moon, like you're like, I mean, it's
No,
like,
I think it's easy.
I
It's
think
easy to
If
get lost.
you've only
in the
gone
desert.
out there a couple times and you're not
Yeah.
in control of going out there, for sure, I think it's easy to get
I could,
used to.
dude.
I mean, it
I've
depends
been-
how far you
let me
walk,
put
I
it this way.
guess.
In coming back and leaving that place, I had at the time, I'd been there like 3 times. And
Yeah.
I was leaving there for the 4th time on foot. And I got turned around. And I was like, wait, I know that we're supposed to be along that ridge, but I can't find the road. And for some reason, the 4 of us couldn't see the obvious road. Like we went back to the location, all of a sudden the road was there. We're like, that was weird. We all could not see the road. It was plain as day.
Huh.
Sometimes shit happens in the desert that you just get tricked by something.
Yeah.
And you know you're supposed to do this, and then everything starts looking the same. And you
I've-
start panicking.
I've been out there a lot.
Yeah.
Like when I had my project out in Calexico, almost every weekend, my buddy Jose and I would go up there.
Nice.
And I would say I've probably driven out there at least 60 times. At least. Now, I haven't driven all of Valley of the Moon. Like,
Yeah,
taking
there's
that
so
left
much.
to get to the gauntlets, going straight, you can go straight, probably to where that 2-track trail is. I've gone down there and I've been to the border and I've seen, whatever.
Have you ever driven up to the top of the
That's what I'm
Elliott
saying.
line?
I've gone. I can't drive up to the top,
Yeah, yeah.
but we've hiked it.
You're
We've
too
gone
long.
up
Yeah,
there.
truck's too long.
That's a great view.
Yeah,
up
I
there.
can't make that turn.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
hard
mine.
switchback.
It's
But
a
actually,
turn.
even before that switchback, there's this one little spot that, like, I don't think it's
Super-
dangerous at all,
super
but it
pitched and it's
sketches
loose.
me out.
Yeah, it's you don't recognize it.
doesn't look
from a
like much.
distance, but as soon as you get on it, you're like, I could roll backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one little spot that's like a washout right before you make that switchback to get up to the top there. That's just like every time I'm like, oh God, I don't want to drive by this thing.
You really can't underestimate the desert. It is out to kill you.
Yeah, everything.
The plants are out to kill you. The if there's snakes that you run by, those are out to kill
Yep.
you. The thing with the desert, and I think people don't appreciate just how dangerous it is that if you are out there, let's say you're an illegal, you're a international traveler, and you're trying to cross that border, a rolled ankle is deadly. You sprain your ankle and you can't walk normally for the next 20 miles, you're fucked. You're too slow. Your pack is not going to those mules are not going to stay behind.
The thing that's kind of amazing, like I love that show, Naked and Afraid, and so basically it's 2 people, they're dropped off in the middle of nowhere, naked and afraid, guy and a girl, and they basically have to survive for 17 days, and they're only given 1 tool each. So oftentimes that tool is like a machete or a pot or
Give me sandals.
yeah, or a fire starter.
I want sandals. I want feet protection.
It's usually one of those 3: a machete, a pot, or a fire starter. I would pick one of those 3 after watching many episodes.
Yeah.
But the point of this is like, it's incredible how long you can live without food. Like you can eat like 5 crickets for like 17 days and then still hike 5 miles and make it out. But
No water.
1 day, 2 days without water, 3, 4, like you're getting pretty close
In
to
the
like,
heat?
I mean, it doesn't take long. Like 2 days, you've deteriorated. And day 3, if you're not finding water, you're in real bad shape.
Yeah.
And it's like, to think that we're kind of always right on that edge, like society makes it, you never even think about that. Like we just have water everywhere. It's no big deal. Who cares?
That's what I'm talking about, the fear response.
3 days,
We've
man.
lost the fear response. It's not that we have cocaine in our water and that's what's triggering us. It's these other small things like you always have water. So there are people, and you've probably talked to them, who don't like water. They don't like drinking water. And you're
I'm
like,
dating one of them.
I don't like the taste of water. And you're like,
Water doesn't have taste.
that doesn't make sense. It is literally vital to your life. If we were stranded, I'm taking your water first.
No, you don't like it. I'll just take it.
Yeah, I'll just take it. No problem.
So,
Right? You need to stay hydrated. It's imperative for your health in general.
But then we have the fear that is bestowed to these individuals from the media. Wearing a mask in your car, driving alone with the windows rolled up.
Right. Or you're that person.
Not because you forgot, because that's excusable. Oh, I was in a store, I forgot to take off my mask. I get that. But literally going into your car wearing a mask. and then rolling the window down to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah. I personally put on my mask in between bites.
Yeah. So is Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
No, but going back to sandals or foot protection. So this is actually a little piece of history for the two of you. Do you know what the Egyptian ankh is?
Yes.
What is that?
It's a sandal.
Oh,
If you
okay.
look at it, it's the Egyptian sandal. It's an ancient sandal. So the heel, the head part, that's actually the heel part, and the strap goes over where the toes go down. So what that was for them is life. That's what the ankh is. It's life. So they knew that if you didn't have feet protection walking through the desert, you weren't walking on that hot sand to get to your water. You weren't walking across the stand to get to your food source or anything.
You step
are
on anything
fucked.
bad, you're dead.
You are fucked.
I follow the logic, but I'm definitely still picking either a fire starter, a pot,
Okay.
or a machete.
Well,
Okay.
those people are probably not being dropped off in the desert. 'Cause
Okay.
I would.
Yeah, they are.
Are they just- what-
They get dropped off everywhere. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
they get
They'll
dropped
drop-
off everywhere.
How would a
Oh.
machete help you in the desert very much?
I guess you could cut a cactus and get water from the cactus.
Can't
This
you
is
use
true.
a rock?
That's what I'm saying.
It's kinda
That's what I'm
hard.
saying. Feet protection takes higher precedence for me than
Most
a
of the time,
machete.
you can your feet toughen up pretty fast,
You see these knives?
but you can
That's the
also
thing.
you
Our
can
feet-
also find like it's incredible. Your feet were made for walking barefoot, so like they toughen up real quick, and then you can generally find something to like fashion a.
Your feet are
Thing
not
out
going to
of-
toughen up so quick that you can traverse through the jungle in 17 days.
Well, we all know I'm a
Yeah,
goner.
there's no way your feet are adapting.
No,
back.
your feet are not adapting that way.
Yeah, but like the pot for boiling water is like pretty critical, like because you can't drink bad water, so you
Yeah,
gotta
you're gonna die.
sanitize it somehow.
So let's say you get dysentery. And how fast can that kill you?
Real fast.
Probably a couple,
Couple
maybe a
days.
day,
Couple
couple days, because you're losing all your water.
That's always what like
Yeah.
it's generally like the
So
things
it's not
that
something you can just like hedge your bets. Like, okay, if I get dysentery on the 9th day,
no you
okay,
take
then I have 7 days before it kicks in. I only have
my-
1 day to shit my brains out, and I get pulled out. Now.
if I have learned anything
bad
from
plan,
this
dude.
show,
Bad plan.
if there's anything I know without a doubt from watching this show is no matter what, do not drink bad water.
Yeah.
I don't care. Even if you think it's questionable, you're better off being dehydrated and trying to find something clean
Yeah.
than taking.
I mean,
your
you would have
chances.
to get filtered water coming off like all like the mountain rocks, melting, and even
No.
then,
No, you can like dig holes.
Yeah, you
There's
can
all
dig
kinds
holes
of
and
crazy
you can do rock
shit.
filtration systems.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can
Yeah.
do some primitive filtration.
okay,
Yeah, I love that show.
yeah, sounds.
But
awesome.
again, though, like if you have the skills and you have the knowledge set to be able to do filtered water, to be able to do primitive filtration systems, you don't
That's
need
huge.
that pot. What you need is a pair of shoes to be able to get you those supplies to be able to do that.
So you
Agree
would
to
take-
disagree.
So you take flip flops over like a. Shoe.
There's always one bonehead who
Over
like
a
they go
shoe.
somewhere tropical and this like asshole brings goggles
I need a winter coat.
because he thinks he's gonna be like lobster fishing the whole time with a spear,
Are you serious?
and the goggles never play out.
yeah, that's stupid.
And no one in the history of the show, not to like body slam you with this, has ever brought shoes. Not a single person. And these are all like survival experts. So I would highly recommend against shoes.
I thought that they were all average Joes.
No.
survival
On,
experts.
on this
I
show,
would
they're all
say-
survival experts.
In terms of
Naked and Afraid is survival experts.
Yeah.
Dude, I could have sworn it was just average people.
yeah, I thought it was average people.
No, there might be other.
too
There
much
might be some other
liability.
show like Naked and Afraid where they drop normal people out there.
Survivor.
But like you can tell, like when the person isn't like an actual expert, they're good for 4 days, 5 days. They tap out pretty fast.
I think that if we go back to the access issue of like whether or not I have a system to propose, and then maybe we should wrap this up.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
So the system I propose, if you were to elect me as the director of National Park Forest Services, I promise to overhaul access, and that would be through a badge program, a certificate that would enable you access based on the level of achievements that you have accomplished or the stewardship that you have done in nature and conservancy. So this is a theory, the working theory I got. So you have a place called like Mount Woodson, right? Level 0. Access for anyone. You get caught littering, you get a ding on your score, right? You help volunteer to pick up trash, you get a plus for your score.
You need a massive database.
Huge. Hey man, I didn't say change was easy.
What if the
I
government...
only said that it was possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I like where your head's at.
Okay.
I like where your head's
So-
at.
I personally like letting people who are grossly underqualified do things they should not ever do.
Okay, no, well, hold on.
It's definitely dangerous, and they for sure shouldn't be doing it. But I like that they have the option.
So you have level 0, which is like entry level access. That means certain campsites, certain family. Like you think Idlewild, where there's the campsites in the town. You know, I don't know if you've been out there. I just recently went.
I have not been.
Families go out there. They set up campers. It's great. It's fun. Level 0. This is like entry level outdoors. Still pretty safe. When you start increasing in the levels, you start getting access rights. So maybe certain campgrounds unlock for you if you've done certain community service hours, if you do certain activities and you can demonstrate certain proficiency and accomplishments. Let's say as a climber or something like that, you've done a certain grade of things, or you're a
Access
skier.
fund. Trail maintenance.
Right, you've done trail maintenance. Maybe you're a skier. Maybe you've done certain routes or something like that has enabled you to be able to access higher level proficiency stuff. And as you go up in the ladder, you unlock more and more access by the National Forest Service. Now, be honest.
As a libertarian, I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
It's too much government oversight.
I just cracking up because I'm typing into the notes. Sinan plan to regulate access to our national parks.
Hell yeah,
I
man.
was like, I can't believe I'm writing this down right now.
Yeah.
I like it. It's like a MMORPG or something. You got to level up your player.
It's like a place like
I don't support it at all, but I like it.
Yeah, it's like exactly. They're like leveling up. So it's like Yosemite, right? Certain parts of the park would be accessible to people with certain levels of
Do you have to get the badges tattooed on you, like when you like unlock a certain thing?
Nah, you don't got a tattoo.
Yeah.
It's just
You know
an internet
what?
profile.
There already is a system in place like that for climbers and for skiers.
What, the diamond system?
The diamond system.
I don't know what it's
The-
actually
the-
called, but it's
the
like a black
climbing
diamond
grade
or whatever.
system.
Yeah.
Unless you have the achievement of being able to climb an 11A, you're not going to get up to X point on the wall.
Yes, that is a hard fixed thing. The thing is that once someone has access to buy a vehicle, once someone has just access to get anywhere, namely a vehicle, you can drive up to any campsite, pay $15, and go. But there's certain campsites where they should be reserved for people who are doing more hardcore activities. I think if you're doing like land cruising and you want a
Normal
nice
landing.
campsite, there should be a campsite for people who have specific interests for those types of four-wheel vehicle or wheeled vehicle motorized sports. There should be access for that. I would want to privilege people who are stewards of the environment, who have demonstrated they give back. They should get rewarded for those things.
I think you could
system as opposed to a
Yeah.
financial system.
I think you
Yeah,
could
it's
reward
merit.
them with like a national park patch of some kind. You know, like if you can like prove that you did it. Like what's the one you do the 6 mountains in a day or something?
Six peak challenge.
Yeah, you
Six-pack
did
challenge.
like who is it? The Park Service sends you like a little thumbs up, like you did it. You know,
Yeah, something like that, right?
I like that, but
If-
I don't like restricting it. So like, oh no, you can't camp here. You're only a level 2 adventurer.
Yeah.
You know,
I would
have you got your level 3 yet? Go home,
I would,
pansy.
I would segregate like that.
What if you're trying to bring a level 2 to a level 3?
Yeah, you can't
What
do
kind
it.
of taboo is going to happen there?
Some
Hey,
badass
man,
rangers.
not all
are
the
gonna-
details are out there yet. I just laid out the problem.
Can't do
One
it.
of the problems is that you have access that you give to everybody who then comes and brings in a crowd that produces trash, who aren't stewards of the environment. Now, the issue that I don't know is what is the difficulty in helping with the budget and the financial constraints of enacting things that help these environments?
Well, you should probably do a case study of this.
Yeah, sometime. I am curious because in Idlewild, one of the popular areas in Black Mountain, that gate keeps getting closed, and the main reason is because I have your book. Kept forgetting about that. So Black Mountain has 2 gates leading up to the mountain. They close each of those gates for various reasons, and they usually cite budgetary issues.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, on one side, I don't understand it to the degree I'd like to, but on one side, I really like the idea that we're looking out for our public spaces and we're keeping them protected and clean. And, we have organizations and people that are putting gates to stop people from trashing them. But on the other hand, I'm like, it's public land. Like, why do I need a permit to go there? Like, I'm already paying taxes for it. We all agree it's great. Just open it up, So like, I'm kind of torn on the whole thing, but when I go to a place like Yellowstone, Yellowstone was awesome, and it's kind of like a national park, amusement park, it's like any fitness level, anything, you can just go drive around with your giant RV and look at things, and it's awesome. But like, I can see how it could hypothetically just be like way out of hand if you didn't put some infrastructure in place. You know what I mean? Like, look at like Old Faithful. I mean, every couple hours you've got 800 people staring at this thing in the off season. Yep. So like, of course you've got to deal with that somehow. So I kind of like that we are, but I think
there has to be some regulation.
Yeah, but like, I think
Not
from
because-
an
not
emotional standpoint, I just wish we didn't have to.
Yeah.
But I get that it's kind of a necessary evil
It is.
to keep these places nice.
But at the same time, you have BLM, and the reason why a lot more people don't use BLM is because it's harder to get to. And when you create more access, it makes it easier for the layman to go to these places and produce waste, trash, not take care of the environment, not give back more than what they took coming in. And I'm not saying that we should prevent people from seeing the amazingness of the outdoors. I think that is why level 0 in what I would think would be a way to regulate this stuff would be really open. Like, it'd be pretty wide. Like, you can go, like they do like you have to get a permit to do Mount Whitney. So that they reduce the amount of traffic that goes up there. Otherwise, people would be using it too much. Like, let's say that was level 0, but it's already regulated because you have a permitting system. You're not doing Mount Whitney if you're not fit for it. The type of people who are trying to go up Mount Whitney are people who are up for it.
I think one of the reasons why they have that lottery for it, the permit for it, is mostly because they don't want to have to do search and rescues. Yeah.
I mean, every weekend I'm at Mount Woodson, somebody's getting helicoptered out of there.
Really?
Yeah, and that stuff's actually really expensive.
Really?
Dead serious.
I've never seen that at Woodson.
What? I just thought it was like, it's usually the weekends, 1. And 2, usually sometime in the morning.
I never go
close
in
to
the
the
weekends.
afternoon.
Really?
Yeah. Happens regularly. It's because Potato Chip Rock, because people want to go up there. You've seen the large crowds that go there. There are people who should have no business hiking up that trail without water. And you often see people who are very unfit.
God, that reminds me of Eagle Peak, seeing those people going out without headlamps and without water in the middle of the night.
Scott and I went out to Eagle Peak. It's a place in San Diego that has multi-pitch climbing. We spent a full day doing this one awesome climb. It was so cool.
3 pitch.
We need to do that again, man. Like,
cool.
that was so cool. So we're leaving. As it's leaving, it starts raining. It's getting dark. This is the winter, so it's getting dark at like 4 o'clock. It's getting dark. It's raining. Three Sisters Waterfall is a popular hike nearby, and people go down, and it's way more treacherous of a hike to get to Three Sisters than it is to get to Eagle Peak.
Yeah, people don't know how hard that hike is.
It's super hard because you're going down, and then you have to come back up. These people passed us before the junction to Three Sisters, and they're like, hey, is that where Three Sisters is? What did they have on? They had no rain protection.
No rain protection. It was, I want to say they were wearing
There were
like
3 of them.
like hiking pants or whatever, like yoga pants type stuff.
Yes.
And t-shirts.
T-shirts. Starting to rain. It's going to get dark. No
It's going to
headlamps.
get cold. It's going to get dark. It's going to get dangerous.
And they had like barely any water.
No supplies. No water. We offered because you found an Alchine bottle and you're like, do you want this or something like that?
I did, huh?
Oh, no, we found it afterward.
Oh,
I
we
don't
found it
know how
after.
it was.
I feel like we offered them water.
Yeah, but you guys don't have water or lights? I remember specifically saying that to me.
No
You don't have
lights.
any water or lights?
Like, it's going to get dark. I'm like, oh, we're still going to try. It's like,
Yeah.
you can't.
I mean, the
you
sky
can't
was
stop
already
thinking.
turning pink at that point.
No, it was like dark, getting dark blue. Like that.
Yeah, you know,
Lights
I
leaving.
yeah, I mean,
Then we had some banging ass cheesecake.
Yeah. Man, we need to go back to that place.
Dude, we tried, man.
We got to hit that.
All right,
on the way
wait.
back from Valley of the Moon this weekend.
Descanso?
It's off the highway. It's off the 8.
Off the junction?
It's off the 8, dude.
Descanso junction?
It's
Yeah.
like maybe at most 2 miles.
Hey, if you're hearing this, go support Descanso Junction with a hole-in-the-wall restaurant with bomb cheesecake.
Burgers are pretty good too. That
Let's
cheesecake.
definitely
Bird
hit that
cake
up.
is... No, the bird cake.
Bird cake.
Burgers are bomb.
All right. So just to recap here,
Okay.
we got to wrap up because I have to go home and eat some food.
Yeah.
Great podcast, guys. Today we talked about why Scotto's voting for Joe Jorgensen,
How he lactates.
why we do social thorns. I was wrong about Canada blocking Fox News. More detail on that. We talked about journalism today. We talked about Georgette Gomez versus Sarah Jacobs. We talked about Chris Ward versus Sarah Davis. We talked about Coffee with Chris, where Chris Ward gets berated by old women for hours.
We need to see what local politicians are doing. What we should go.
We should go. Those would be super fun. We spent a lot of time talking about Kanye West and his political platform. Sinan, you shared a great story about Whoppers, Valley of the Moon, and all the cool things that we've experienced with different international travelers.
We also busted the myth of how we met. We did not meet on Grindr. We met at Valley of the Moon.
That's a common misunderstanding and misperception, and I can understand how people could get that.
Right, because you're popular. You're popular on there.
I get a lot of ass.
Yeah.
I really do. Thanks, guys. Good podcast.
Find us on our YouTube channel, Social
yeah.
Thorns. And look for us on podcasts available to you on Apple and Spotify.
Let's hear it. Social Thorns. Leave us alone.
Social Thorns. Leave us alone.